enforcement of traffic regulations across the valley. The office has also moved to take stricter action against repeat offenders, sending recommendations to the Department of Transport Management to suspend licenses of drivers involved in violations more than 5 times, with 31 drivers already recommended for suspension. Officials also reported that 4,631 road accidents occurred in the Kathmandu Valley during the same period, resulting in 174 deaths and 186 serious injuries. Authorities have attributed the rising accident risk to speeding, drunk driving, lane violations, and red light jumping, and have pledged stronger enforcement measures going forward. Time now for a short break. We shall be back with more updates. Welcome back. You're watching Primetime News on NTV World. Now the remaining updates. Nepal is seeing an unusual pre-monsoon season with cooler temperatures and frequent rain instead of typical summer heat. Experts link this to active western disturbances and shifting weather patterns. The change is said to reflect growing climate variability and could affect the upcoming monsoon and agriculture. Sabika Shrestha brings more in our next report.
What should normally be one of Nepal's hottest and driest stretches of the year has instead felt strangely cold and unsettled. In months of April and May, when heat waves and dusty winds usually dominate many parts of the country, are seeing thick cloud cover, frequent rain, thunderstorms, and even hail, giving days an almost winter-like feel. According to the Department of Hydrology and Meteorology, Kathmandu's temperatures have been hovering around 22 to 24 degrees Celsius, nearly 8 to 10 degrees Celsius below normal. In the Tarai belt, when temperatures often approach 40 degrees Celsius at this time of year, the mercury has stayed unusually restrained in the low 30s. Meteorologists say the pattern is being driven by active western disturbances and a highly dynamic upper-air circulation system, which is reshaping how pre-monsoon weather behaves, bringing repeated spells of rain and blocking the usual build-up of heat. Weather expert Nagmendra Dahal says the current pre-monsoon season is behaving in an unusually active and unstable way.
This year, Nepal's pre-monsoon season has been very active with heavy rainfall in the last 3 and 4 weeks, and this is unusual kind of pre-monsoon. The temperature is very low compared to the normal pre-monsoon time. No usual kind of weather system such as thunderstorm, hailstorm, lightning, gusty winds, short duration of rainfall. This is a very kind of dynamic situation. And the main influencing factor of this activity is due to the active westerly disturbances. The mountain region may get some rainfall in the east and in mid-west and central Nepal, but in the central, in the western Tarai, mid-Tarai and western Tarai will be affected the most.
Beyond the immediate weather oddity, climate experts see a deeper signal. Nepal is increasingly experiencing erratic seasonal behavior, extreme heat in some years, unseasonal cold spells in others, and shifting rainfall patterns that no longer follow predictable cycles. This growing instability is being linked to broader climate change impacts in the Himalayan region, where rising global temperatures are altering jet streams, weakening traditional monsoon patterns, and increasing the frequency of western disturbances. For farmers, the concern is not just the unusual chill, but what it might mean ahead. Unpredictable pre-monsoon behavior often raises uncertainty about the main monsoon itself, the lifetime of Nepal's agriculture. With forecasts hinting at below normal rainfall ahead, the fear is of longer dry spells, stressed crops, and growing pressure on already vulnerable farming communities. Sabika Shrestha reporting for NTV World.
The rug industry in Nepal's Thading district is facing a severe crisis due to a shortage of skilled workers, driven largely by youth migration for foreign employment. Local entrepreneurs say this labor outflow has forced several traditional carpet factories toward closure, with 4 of the 12 operating factories in the district headquarters already shut down and the remaining running at reduced capacity. Production has dropped significantly, with manufacturers reporting a decline from about 200 carpets per month to nearly half that output. The impact has also been felt in exports, which fell sharply from around 250 million rupees in the previous fiscal year to about 100 million rupees in the last fiscal year. Industry operators have urged government support, including modern equipment and policy measures, to preserve Nepal's traditional carpet weaving sector and sustain remaining livelihoods. Businessmen, entrepreneurs and officials in Tulsipur Dang district in southwestern Nepal say private sector confidence has improved after the government decided to revoke 15 laws that had long been criticized by the entrepreneurs. Speaking at an interaction program, Tulsipur Chamber of Commerce and Industry President Binil Kesi said businesses had continued operating despite challenges such as protests and the COVID-19 pandemic. Federation of Nepalese Chambers of Commerce and Industry FNCCI Vice President Krishna Prasad Sharma said a lack of coordination among the 3 tiers of government had created difficulties for the private sector, but expressed hope that planned amendments to outdated laws would improve the business environment. Chief of Inland Revenue Office Tulsipur Sridhar Tandon said businesses would not face problems if they complied with the law, adding that authorities aimed to expand the tax net rather than harass entrepreneurs. However, Tulsipur Sub-Metropolitan City Mayor Tikaram Khadka said cumbersome laws and regulations were hindering efforts to take domestic products to international markets, stressing the need for coordinated industry-friendly policies across all levels of government. Now another update. Badi Kedar Temple in Doti district is emerging as a major religious and tourism destination in Nepal's far western region, drawing pilgrims from across Nepal and India. Despite its growing popularity and tourism potential, authorities say the area still needs significant infrastructure development to support rising visitor numbers. Aprila Khising Lama with local correspondent Ekendra Chand reports.
Located in Doti district in Nepal's far western region, Badi Kedar Temple is increasingly gaining recognition as an important religious and tourism destination. The temple, regarded as a major center of Hindu faith, attracts pilgrims and visitors from various parts of Nepal as well as neighboring India. Local authorities say tourism activities and religious fairs are now being organized beyond the traditional annual festival season to promote the area more widely. Known for its panoramic views of the Api and Saipal Himalayan ranges, dense forests and natural surroundings, the destination has growing tourism potential.
ठुला केदार नामले पनि प्रसिद्ध छन् र अहिले बडी केदार भनेर पनि प्रसिद्ध छन्। अब यो खास गरेर छोटो रूपमा मेला लाग्ने मुख्य ठुलो विशेष पर्वको रूपमा कार्तिक शुक्ल त्रयोदशी मेला भएर चतुर्दशी हवन पूजा हुने र अनि शिवरात्रि महाशिवरात्रिको बेला पनि यहाँ मेलाको आयोजना हुन्छ र अधिकतम मान्छेहरू आएर दर्शन गरेर जान्छन्। अनि वैशाख शुक्ल चतुर्दशी पनि विशेष पर्वकै रूपमा नै यो केदारमा मेला लाग्ने भइरहेको छ। पहिलेदेखि थियो, बीचमा केही समय टुट्यो, फेरि सुरुवात गर्दैछन्।
Traditionally, the largest religious fair at Badi Kedar was held once a year during Kartik Shukla Trayodashi, an annual Hindu religious festival period in October-November. However, temple authorities have now started organizing additional fairs during this season to increase visitor engagement and tourism promotion. Despite its religious significance, local officials say the area still lacks adequate infrastructure, including roads, pedestrian trails, drinking water facilities, public toilets, accommodation, and information centers.
पर्यटकीय क्षेत्रलाई थप व्यवस्थित र पर्यटक आउन लायकको हामीले बनाउने रणनीति तय गरेका छौं। यस क्षेत्रको विकासका लागि हामीले प्रदेश सरकारसँग आग्रह गरेका छौं र संघीय सरकारलाई पनि हामीले हाम्रो निवेदन पर्यटन मन्त्रालयमा पेश गरेका छौं।
Officials believe that with better infrastructure and effective promotion, Badi Kedar could emerge as one of the major tourism destinations in Nepal's far western region.
Time again for a short break here. We will see you at the other side with international updates. A car bombing at a police post in northwestern Pakistan, followed by an ambush on police personnel rushing to the scene, has killed at least 14 officers. The attack targeted a checkpoint in the northwestern Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border, where insurgent violence has intensified in recent months. Police official Sajjad Khan said in a statement that the bodies of 14 officers had been recovered from the collapsed outpost and 3 other personnel were found alive and rushed to hospital. Security officials said the blast was followed by heavy gunfire as assailants attempted to storm the post. A militant alliance known as the Ittehad-ul-Mujahideen claimed responsibility for the attack. At least 39 people have been killed in another day of intense Israeli strikes in Lebanon, according to the country's health ministry. One Israeli strike on the southern town of Saksakieh killed at least 7 people, including a child, according to the ministry. The Israel Defense Forces (IDF) said it had been targeting Lebanese armed group Hezbollah and was aware of reports regarding harm to uninvolved civilians. Israeli forces and Hezbollah have continued to trade fire since U.S. President Donald Trump announced a ceasefire deal between the governments of Israel and Lebanon on the 16th of April. Most of Israel's airstrikes have hit southern Lebanon, with the military saying it is striking infrastructure and people linked to Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed militia and political party. In more from the Middle East crisis, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards threatened on Saturday to target U.S. sites in the Middle East if its tankers come under fire, Iranian media reported, as Washington was left waiting for Tehran's response to its latest negotiating position. The remarks came a day after U.S. strikes on 2 Iranian tankers in the Gulf of Oman. That incident followed another flare-up the night before in the Strait of Hormuz, the vital international sea lane that Iran is seeking to control in order to extract tolls and wield economic leverage over the United States and its allies. The U.S. says it is unacceptable for Tehran to control the key oil route. U.S. President Donald Trump had said on Friday he was expecting Iran's answer to Washington's latest proposal for a peace deal. But if Tehran sent Pakistani mediators a response, there was no public sign of it, and Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi reportedly questioned the reliability of U.S. leadership. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said he thinks Russia's conflict with Ukraine is coming to an end, addressing reporters after a scaled-back military parade in Moscow, marking the Soviet victory in World War II. Putin also blasted Western countries for helping Ukraine.
Все замечательно, пообещали помощь и начали раскручивать противостояния с Россией, которое продолжается до сих пор. Я думаю, что дело идет к завершению, но все-таки это серьезная вещь.
Spain has started evacuating passengers from a hantavirus-stricken cruise ship anchored near Tenerife in the Canary Islands. Health Minister Monica Garcia said the operation was proceeding normally and that all passengers on board the MS Hondias were still asymptomatic. Passengers could be seen wandering around on the deck of the ship or at the windows, all in white medical face masks, as the first evacuation took place. Several sat socially distanced on the small evacuation boat, filming and taking photos as they approached land, where they were met by officials in white protective suits. The ship's passengers are being divided into groups by nationality to be ferried to shore. They will be taken by bus to the local airport, where charter planes will repatriate them to their home countries. More from the international front and sports news coming up next after this short break. Actor turned politician Chandrasekaran Joseph Vijay took oath as the new Chief Minister of Indian state of Tamil Nadu at the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium today, marking the rise of a new political force in the state. With his oath-taking, Tamilaga Vetri Kazhagam, President Vijay becomes the first leader outside the DMK and the AIADMK camps to assume power in Tamil Nadu since 1967, ending nearly 6 decades of two-party dominance. In his speech, Vijay pledged to prioritize transparent governance, youth welfare and employment generation while calling for unity and inclusive development across Tamil Nadu. The swearing-in event drew a large gathering of political leaders and public figures, including Congress leader Rahul Gandhi. Thousands of people rally in Peru's capital Lima for a Defend Democracy march. Nearly a month after they went to the polls, Peruvians are still waiting to know the final result, with legal challenges causing long delays to the count. The ultra-conservative presidential hopeful Rafael Lopez Aliaga addressed the protesters, alleging foreign interference in the vote and calling for an audit of the electoral process. Supporters waved Peruvian flags and chanted slogans demanding transparency in the election count. Authorities urged calm as electoral officials continued reviewing disputed ballots and legal appeals. The prolonged uncertainty has deepened political tensions across the country, with both sides claiming victory. Digital technology is reshaping heritage preservation and cultural tourism in Vietnam, where museums, art institutions and technology firms are increasingly using artificial intelligence, 3D mapping and virtual reality to digitize artifacts and recreate historical works for the public. Hundreds of Vietnamese fine art masterpieces have been recreated through digitization and AI-based technology, allowing visitors to engage with works in immersive virtual spaces. At the Vietnam National Museum of History, officials said more than 80,000 artifacts have been digitized as part of efforts to preserve historical collections and expand interactive visitor experiences. Officials say the expansion of digital heritage projects could strengthen cultural tourism and make historical collections more accessible to younger generations and the international visitors. Those were the international updates. Now we move on to sports. The Central Asian Volleyball Association (CAVA) Women's Volleyball Championship League is set to take place in Kathmandu this Jest as per Nepali calendar under the organization of the Nepal Volleyball Association. The tournament will run from June 3 to June 8, featuring national teams from 8 countries, including Nepal, Iran, Kyrgyzstan, India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Maldives, and Kazakhstan. According to Nepal Volleyball Association President Jitendra Bahadur Chand, the competition will also improve its standing through strong home performance. Chand added that preparations have been completed for the event, which has an estimated budget of 25 million rupees, with 10 million rupees contributed by the Nepal government and 3 million rupees by Kathmandu Metropolitan City. Now in other news, Iran's Football Federation has said that the men's national team will participate in the 2026 World Cup, but demanded that joint hosts of the United States, Mexico and Canada meet its conditions amid the intensified tensions in the Middle East. Previously, Mehdi Taj, president of the Iran Football Federation, said to this effect to ensure the Iranian team is properly treated during the tournament. Iran has 10 demands, including the smooth visa issuance and entry for Iranian team personnel, respect for Iranian team personnel, the Iranian flag and the national anthem during the tournament, and high-level security protection for Iranian team personnel. Iran has been drawn in Group G for the World Cup, which will be co-hosted by the United States, Mexico and Canada from June 11 to July 19. The team is scheduled to open its campaign against New Zealand in Los Angeles on June 15, followed by a match against Belgium at the same venue on June 21. Its final group match is set for June 26 against Egypt in Seattle. And before we wrap up, here's a reminder of our top stories. Budget session of Nepal's federal parliament begins tomorrow. President to present government policy and program. National Examination Board of Nepal targets to publish SEE results by May 12. Over 500,000 await the outcome. Experts link Nepal's erratic weather to active western disturbances, warn of possible monsoon impact on agriculture. At least 14 officers killed in a deadly car bomb. Police post in northwestern Pakistan targeted. Israel intensifies strikes in Lebanon as Iran threatens U.S. targets in escalating Middle East tensions. 39 killed in airstrikes in Lebanon. And Iran sets conditions for 2026 World Cup hosts for participation, demands visa guarantees and security assurances. That's it for this edition of Primetime News. Our next bulletin will be at 2200 hours Nepal time. Meanwhile, do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website at nepaltelevision.com. Thank you for staying with us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu, Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World. Facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it.
NTV World, taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands. Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
This is The World This Week, your weekly roundup of the latest international events and updates. This is me, Bhavna Casey. In this edition, we bring you the stories making headlines across the globe, from geopolitical tensions and major political developments to cultural celebrations and remarkable feats. We have all that you need. Let's begin with the developments from the Middle East, where tensions continue to prevail between Tehran and Washington. U.S. President Donald Trump says a ceasefire is still in place with Iran, despite a clash between Iran and U.S. naval destroyers in the Strait of Hormuz, for which both sides blame each other.
The U.S. said Iran launched missiles, drones and small boats against 3 of its warships in what it called an unprovoked attack. President Trump said Iran trifled with us today.
Yeah, it is. They trifled with us today. We blew them away. They trifled. I call that a trifle. I'll let you know when there's no ceasefire. You won't have to know. If there's no ceasefire, you're not going to have to know. You're just going to have to look at one big glow coming out of Iran.
Iran's top military command, meanwhile, alleged the U.S. had targeted an Iranian oil tanker and another vessel approaching the Strait of Hormuz and carried out aerial attacks on several coastal areas. The flare-up comes a day after Iran's foreign ministry had said it was considering a U.S. proposal to end the war. In a further sign of the fragility of the ceasefire, early on Friday, the United Arab Emirates Ministry of Defense said its air defenses were actively engaging with a missile and drone attack from Iran. Iranian state media initially reported explosions in the Strait of Hormuz, describing them as an exchange of fire with the enemy, what it called. Meanwhile, local media reported explosions were heard in Tehran. Not long after, a statement from Iran's top military command said U.S. aerial attacks struck the coast of Bandar Khamir, Sirik, and Qishm Island. U.S. Central Command CENTCOM described the Iranian attacks as unprovoked, saying Iranian forces launched multiple missiles, drones, and small boats as U.S. Navy-guided missiles destroyers transited through the strait. CENTCOM said it had eliminated inbound threats and targeted Iranian military facilities responsible for attacking U.S. forces, including missile and drone launch sites, command and control locations, and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance nodes. Meanwhile, posting on Truth Social, Trump said that the US had destroyed multiple small boats, missiles, and drones, adding that great damage was done to the Iranian attackers.
Amid these ongoing geopolitical tensions, attention now turns to global public health concerns as World Health Organization says hantavirus outbreak on a cruise ship in the South Atlantic is not a pandemic, even as officials confirm cases and trace passengers from the vessel where 3 people have died. An outbreak of hantavirus on board a cruise ship in the South Atlantic is not the start of a pandemic, the UN Health Agency had said. Maria Van Kerkhove, an infectious disease epidemiologist at the World Health Organization, told a news briefing that it was not the same situation as 6 years ago with COVID-19 because hantavirus spreads through close, intimate contact.
The risk to general public is low. This is not a virus that spreads like flu or like COVID. It's quite different.
Health authorities are racing to trace dozens of people who have recently disembarked from the Dutch vessel MV Hondius. On Thursday, the WHO said that overall 5 of 8 suspected cases of hantavirus had been confirmed. 3 people have died, including a 69-year-old Dutch woman who had the virus. WHO's Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said that WHO had informed 12 countries whose nationals disembarked in St. Helena, adding that the WHO is also supporting health authorities in South Africa to trace people who are on the flight from St. Helena to Johannesburg with the woman who later died.
WHO has also informed 12 countries whose nationals disembarked in St. Helena. Those 12 countries are Canada, Denmark, Germany, the Netherlands, New Zealand, St. Kitts and Nevis, Singapore, Sweden, Switzerland, Turkey, the United Kingdom, and the United States of America. In addition, WHO is supporting health authorities in South Africa to follow up people who were on the flight from St. Helena to Johannesburg with the woman who later died.
The woman's Dutch husband and a German woman also died, and their cases are being investigated. Hantavirus typically spreads from rodents, but in the latest outbreak, the transmission between people was documented for the first time, according to the WHO. About 150 passengers and crew from 28 countries are reported to have initially been aboard the vessel, but dozens disembarked on the island of St. Helena on 24th April. All Press Freedom Day was marked this week amid growing concerns over media freedom, with Reporters Without Borders (RSF) saying press freedom has fallen to its lowest level in 25 years. All Press Freedom Day has been observed across the world with the theme Shaping a Future at Peace, promoting press freedom for human rights, development and security. Every year, May 3rd is observed as the World Press Freedom Day to evaluate press freedom around the world to defend the media from attacks on their independence. Meanwhile, press freedom has declined to its lowest level in 25 years, according to the latest annual rankings released by Reporters Without Borders (RSF). Its latest report, the 2026 World Press Freedom Index, details how the working environment for journalists is worsening worldwide. RSF Director General has warned that journalists across the world are increasingly facing legal and political pressure, with their work being criminalized through what he described as an expanding set of repressive laws.
Reporters sans frontières publie son classement mondial 2026 de la liberté de la presse. Il y a 3 faits saillants. Tout d'abord, la liberté de la presse est à son plus bas depuis que RSF le mesure, depuis 2002. Deuxièmement, nous voyons que la tendance annuelle, c'est la baisse très nette d'un indicateur qui est celui de l'indicateur légal. De plus en plus de journalistes nous font part de la criminalisation de leurs pratiques, avec un arsenal de lois répressives qui est déployé contre eux. Et puis troisièmement, les Amériques dévissent dans le classement. Les États-Unis perdent 7 places et puis on voit des pays d'Amérique latine qui connaissent un déclin assez net, assez prononcé. Je pense notamment à l'Équateur et au Pérou. C'est le fait.
The RSF further added conflicts and wars are emerging as a major driver, creating some of the most dangerous environments for journalists, restricting access to information, increasing censorship and exposing reporters to violence, detention and even death. Advocacy manager at RSF's Asia Pacific Bureau said that for the first time in the index's history, more than half of the world's countries now fall into difficult or very serious situations.
The overall score deteriorated in 2026
which again is quite a huge drop because last year it was almost 56 points out of 100. This year is only 54 points. So we have 1 point drop within the global score. And that 94 countries now fall into the difficult and very serious categories.
The report also highlighted a notable decline in the United States, which fell 7 places in the rankings, underscoring concerns over growing challenges to press independence, even in established democracies. Nepal, meanwhile, tops South Asia in Press Freedom Index, ranking 87th out of 180 countries, followed by India at 157th, while Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Pakistan trailed further behind, with Afghanistan ranking lowest in the South Asian region. Now to Central African Republic, where former child soldiers are learning sewing, baking and other trades as aid groups work to help them rebuild their lives after years of conflict and trauma. This program has given children affected by armed groups a chance to return to normal life despite ongoing violence and funding shortages. In the eastern city of Bria of Central African Republic, former child soldiers are learning sewing and other trades as part of efforts to rebuild their lives after years of conflict. It is a way to help the 14 to 17-year-olds move on from the violence they suffered at the hands of the country's many armed groups. Teachers with the Esperance charity say working with the teenagers can be difficult, as many still struggle with trauma, stress, and lingering effects of violence. The region, rich in diamonds, has long been destabilized by armed groups, with conflicts intensifying again in recent months despite earlier peace agreements and disarmament programs. According to UNICEF, around 2,000 children in the Central African Republic remain associated with armed groups. At the peak of the 2013-2018 civil war, about 20 armed factions operated in the east, though that number has since declined to 14. Survivors, like a 14-year-old girl once abducted by the Unit for Peace, one of the largest rebel groups in the Central African Republic, say training programs are helping them regain a sense of normal life. Others, like a 16-year-old boy now working as a baker, continue to cope with painful memories of exploitation and harsh treatment. Aid groups provide both vocational training and psychological support, but demand is rising as more children leave armed groups through disarmament efforts. However, limited funding, largely due to the recent drop-off in international funding like US aid, has left organizations unable to assist all those in need, raising concerns about the future of rehabilitation programs in the region. To technological advancement, Asia also saw major scientific progress this week as South Korea successfully launched its next-generation mid-sized satellite number 2 aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket after a 4-year delay. South Korea's next-generation mid-sized satellite number 2 has been successfully launched aboard SpaceX Falcon 9 following a 4-year delay. The satellite lifted up at 3:59 p.m. Korea Standard Time on Monday and entered orbit approximately 75 minutes later after establishing communication with a ground station in Norway. Developed by a South Korean private company, the satellite's primary mission is Earth observation, including disaster monitoring such as wildfires and flooding. It will also support mapping and urban planning activities. Originally scheduled for launch in 2022 aboard a Russian rocket, the mission was postponed due to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, followed by further delays that extended the timeline by 4 years. The satellite will operate alongside its predecessor launched in 2021, enabling more frequent revisit cycles and faster production of 3D imagery, according to the Korea Aerospace Administration. Following a 4-month testing phase, full operation deployment is expected in the second half of this year. Shifting from space technology to cultural nostalgia, where Europe witnessed a unique fan gathering this week. Sherlock Holmes enthusiasts from different countries gathered in Switzerland to celebrate the detective's enduring legacy with a dramatic reenactment.
At Switzerland's Reichenbach Falls, around 60 members of Sherlock Holmes Society of London gathered in Victorian-style costumes to recreate the fictional duel between Sherlock Holmes and Professor Moriarty. The scene is inspired by Arthur Conan Doyle's 1891 story, in which Holmes and Moriarty are believed to have fallen to their deaths at the dramatic waterfall. Fans travelled through several Holmes-related sites in Switzerland before arriving in Meiringen for a funicular ride up to the 120-meter-high falls. Participants dressed as characters from the stories, including Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson, Professor Moriarty, and others, fully embracing the Victorian theme. Many said the experience felt immersive, with the setting's mist and roar adding to the atmosphere of Doyle's fictional world. The dramatic reenactment included the iconic struggle between Holmes and Moriarty, followed by Watson discovering the detective's farewell note. The event marked the Society's 75th anniversary and brought together enthusiasts from different countries, many attending for the first time. Participants said the gathering offers a shared space for fans to celebrate their passion for the stories and the intricate details. Despite Holmes' fictional death at the site, his legacy continues to draw devoted followers to the Swiss landmark more than a century later.
From historical fiction to cutting-edge innovation, where robots capable of performing a wide range of tasks took center stage at the 9th Digital China Summit, as China showcased thousands of new technologies and innovations in daily life and industry applications.
A dazzling array of multi-talented robot assistants took center stage at the 9th Digital China Summit in Fuzhou City, Southeast China's Fujian province, covering a wide spectrum of daily life and industrial scenarios. The summit features more than 6,000 technologies, products, and application projects with robot assistants among the most captivating exhibits. Replacing human volunteers and performers, domestically developed full-scene robots can now greet and guide guests, dance, and even write calligraphy. Powered by rapidly advancing embodied intelligence, these machines are making the leap from the laboratory to reality. In addition to humanoids, robot dogs are emerging as ideal babysitters and guide dogs. Beyond daily life, robots are also clocking in at an accelerating pace across the industrial sector. Some participating companies also demonstrated the training process for embodied intelligence robots to handle non-standardized production tasks, ranging from sorting diverse industrial parts and taking on packaging tasks.
Thousands of transgender people from across India gathered at the South Indian temple for the annual Aravan festival that offers spiritual meaning and a rare sense of acceptance for the community.
For a few days each year, members of India's often marginalized transgender community gather in large numbers at a unique religious festival that offers both spiritual significance and rare social acceptance. Centered around the Kutandawar temple, the annual festival attracts transgender participants, many of whom identify as part of the transgender, also called Hijra community, from across the country. The event is dedicated to Aravan, a figure from Hindu mythology whose story holds deep cultural and symbolic meaning for transgender devotees. According to tradition, Aravan agreed to be sacrificed before a great battle in the epic Mahabharata, but requested to experience marriage before his death. The god Krishna is believed to have taken the form of a woman to fulfill this wish, a narrative that has become central to the festival's rituals and its significance for gender-diverse communities. During the event, participants take part in symbolic marriage ceremonies to Aravan, followed by mourning rituals that reenact his death. The ceremonies blend religious devotion with cultural expression, including music, dance, and communal gatherings. For many attendees, the festival represents more than a religious observance. It serves as a rare space of inclusion in a society where transgender individuals often face stigma, discrimination, and limited economic opportunities. During the festival, participants report a sense of visibility, dignity, and belonging that is often absent in their daily lives. Local authorities say the event has grown in scale in recent years, drawing increased attention from tourists, researchers, and rights advocates. While it remains rooted in tradition, the gathering is also seen as highlighting broader conversations around gender identity and social inclusion in India.
Thousands of dancers fill the main square in Armenia's capital, turning the city center into a vibrant open-air stage to mark International Dance Day with a large-scale public performance.
Thousands of dancers gathered in the main square of Armenia's capital, Yerevan, to mark International Dance Day with a large-scale public performance that turned the city center into a mass cultural stage. According to the Armenian Ministry of Education, Science, Culture and Sport, approximately 4,000 participants took part in the event. The ministry said the gathering brought together dancers of different ages and backgrounds, highlighting the country's efforts to promote cultural expression and public participation in the arts. The celebration took place in the city's center square, where performers filled the open space with synchronized routines and traditional as well as contemporary choreography. Organizers described the event as part of broader initiatives to encourage engagement with national culture and strengthen community involvement through performing arts. International Dance Day is observed globally each year as a celebration of dance as an art form and a means of cultural exchange.
Artists in Botswana are capturing the energy of the World Athletics relays in real time using live painting from the stadium stands to transform sporting moments into lasting works of the art. Artists in Botswana are documenting the World Athletics relays through live painting, offering a creative interpretation of athletes' performances from the stadium's stands. Commissioned for the event, local artists are using brushes and canvas to depict the movement, strength, and form of competitors participating in the World Athletics relays. The live artworks are emerging as lasting visual records of the event, capturing moments that extend beyond the finish line. Artist Gomolemo Khoshemi Dimo said the concept behind the project is to merge sport and art with the aim of capturing the excitement, energy, and joy of the event.
Well, this whole idea was centered around the concept sports and art, sports meets art. So it was just to capture the excitement, the energy, the joy of the event.
Artist Jode said the project provides an alternative to digital recording, focusing on translating the movements and muscles of athletes into visual art.
Cameras and smartphones to capture moments like this, as we capture it using brushes, canvas, and paint.
Organizers say the initiative aims to combine sport and creativity, highlighting Botswana's creative community while enhancing the spectator's experience. The project has drawn attention from visitors, with artists working in real time to produce pieces that reflect the energy and atmosphere of the international competition. From modern art and canvas to traditional sporting heritage, as spectators gathered in Japan to watch traditional bullfighting, a centuries-old event where bulls lock horns in controlled matches that end in ties to prevent injury. Spectators flock to a city in Niigata Prefecture to see bulls lock horns in traditional Japanese bullfighting. The event is designated as important intangible folk cultural property. The cities of Oziya and Nagaoka in central Japan hold several matches every year during the season. Oziya held this year's first event on Sunday, involving 36 bulls. The matches have two bulls face off, locking horns and pressing against each other as their handlers shout encouragement. Every bout was brought to an end in a tie to prevent the animals from getting hurt. One visitor in his 80s said it was his first time to see it and he could really feel the strong impacts from the classes. An official from a group promoting the city's bullfighting tradition said he wants to make the city event widely known. The city will hold a tournament every month through November. From traditional events to evolving travel experiences, as Vietnam is reshaping its tourism industry through large-scale cultural festivals and immersive performances that blend history, tradition, and modern entertainment to attract both locals and international visitors.
Across Vietnam, a new wave of cultural festivals and artistic performances is transforming the tourism landscape. These events, which now feature a larger scale and more professional production, are drawing significant attention from both local and international visitors, while also enhancing the overall tourism experience in the country. One of the standout examples of this cultural evolution is the Mystical Royal Palace program at the Imperial Citadel of Hue. This event, a modern and vivid interpretation of Vietnam's royal history, has become a major draw for tourists. Visitors are not only treated to dramatic reenactments of Vietnam's imperial past, but also participate in immersive activities like the Royal Banquet Night and the Imperial Cuisine Experience. Meanwhile, the Ha Long Carnival 2026 is offering a fresh and modern approach to cultural tourism. This event, with its lively street performances, dynamic circus acts, and vibrant dances, has become a massive hit for both locals and tourists. What sets the Ha Long Carnival apart is its ability to fuse the traditions of local ethnic communities with modern international entertainment. These events are part of a broader trend in Vietnam where localities are actively revitalizing their cultural offerings to make them more attractive and engaging. This cultural renewal is positioning Vietnam as a top destination for tourists seeking a deeper, more meaningful travel experience.
Well, it brings us to the end of this episode of The World This Week. We hope you enjoyed as much as we did bringing it to you. We shall see you again next week with a new episode. And please do follow us on our website www.nepaltelevision.com, our social media handles, as well as our YouTube channel. Till then, take care and bye-bye.
Welcome to Declassified Beyond the Brief with me, Devendra Subedi. Today we bring you the story from the alleys of Kathmandu to NASDAQ, which is the US stock exchange. The gentleman we have with us today recently hit headlines in Nepal as a successful entrepreneur whose company, Fuse Machines, a company working in the field of artificial intelligence, which we call AI, made its debut at the NASDAQ or the US stock exchange. In this episode of Declassified, we try to explore the journey of a successful Nepali in global business arena. Artificial intelligence itself, changing trends in global business world, Nepali identity abroad, and much more.
Dr. Samir Maske, a change maker, computer scientist, and educator, has spent his career at the crossroads of innovation and education. He believes artificial intelligence isn't just transforming industries, it's reshaping opportunity itself. In 2013, he founded Fuse Machines, a New York-based company with a bold mission to democratize AI and make its benefits accessible to all. Though headquartered in the United States, its roots and much of its talent remain deeply connected to Nepal, where the company first launched its AI fellowship program, training local engineers and students in cutting-edge technology. Over the past decade, Fuse Machines has empowered thousands of AI learners and built advanced solutions across finance, healthcare, retail, and media, bridging academics and industry. Its proprietary platform, AI Studio, drives predictive and generative AI systems, helping businesses automate decisions, detect fraud, and make sense of data at scale. Listed on NASDAQ in October 2025, Fuse Machines reached a valuation of about $200 million. From Kathmandu to New York, Dr. Maske's vision proves that innovation and education can bridge worlds, turning intelligence into opportunity.
Please welcome Dr. Samir Maske, founder and CEO of Fuse Machine.
Thank you for having me here.
Dr. Maske, is the joy of being listed in NASDAQ still soaking in?
Definitely. It was a very long, arduous, hard journey to get listed in NASDAQ. And it's a relief, obviously. And it's slowly sinking in that we're actually now listed in NASDAQ and we're a public company.
So we're pretty lucky because we caught you in person here in Kathmandu, because you're basically based in your headquarters in New York. Is it a holiday trip after that success?
It's partly holiday trip, partly work. So my family, my mother, sister, brother, basically pretty much all of my extended family is here. So I'm here to see them. And then because how difficult the process was, the usual trips I used to make multiple times a year, I had not been able to make it for almost last 12 months to see all the colleagues and employees here in Nepal office. So part of it is just coming back to see everyone and see all the colleagues in Fuse Machines, Nepal.
It will be an interesting conversation with Dr. Samir Maske, but initially what we're going to do is we are going to go to the roots of Dr. Maske. Let's start with your journey, Dr. Maske. Can you tell us more about your journey from the alleys of Kathmandu, I'd prefer to say it, to NASDAQ?
Definitely. So I was born and raised in Nepal. Yeah. So as a child, I would run in the gullies of Tamil. That's where I grew up. I went to school here. Finished my SLC, it's called ACE now, and the ISC, and now it's mostly plus 10 plus 2 and A-levels and so forth. So I finished my ISC, taking science as a subject. And during my last year, I applied for colleges in the US. I got a scholarship into a few colleges, and that's when my journey to the United States started. Went to the US, to Bates College. It's a small college up in Maine, and studied math and physics. and then went on to do a PhD in AI because I was interested in computer science. I was interested in making machines talk, making machines understand us. And so that research passion led me doing a PhD, after which I joined IBM Watson Research Center, where I continued to do research on speech-to-speech translation system, like English to French, German, Chinese, Arabic, many different kinds of speech-to-speech translation systems, question answering systems, deep question answering systems and whatnot. And as I did that for quite a while, after some time, I left IBM and then started teaching AI courses at Columbia University, and then also started Fuse Machines, which was also based on basically all the learnings I had done on AI and thinking about how to turn that into a business.
It is an interesting fact that Dr. Samir Maski is currently an adjunct associate professor at the University of Columbia teaching AI. So it's not just business, right? Can you tell us more about how your academics helped you build a business?
Education has been very close to my heart for a long time. My mom was a school teacher, it's called the Bhagwan Bal, as this primary school. So I'd seen her teach all these kids, and when I used to come back from school, I could see her teaching, and so forth, and would wait outside. So, and I've seen over the years how education, the students she has taught to all these kids have grown up now and are successful in their own businesses or education and so forth. So academia has always been very close and always been very interested in it, and that's why I ended up doing a PhD. Like, research was a passion, knowledge was a passion. So because of that, when I was in my undergrad and I was studying math and physics, I wanted to build a speech synthesis system. And that led me to a library where I found a book and then started reading about it and taught myself how to build a speech synthesizer. And that started my academic journey on AI, like almost 25 years ago.
So you started your journey into AI, doing research, your academics in AI almost 25 years ago.
Yes, when nobody cared about AI. Right now, AI is, like, everybody talks about AI, but 25 years ago, nobody cared. And it was just sheer interest on how things work as an engineering field.
I'd be wrong if I say your interest was only in IT at that time. In fact, 25 years ago, you were already targeting your zeroing on your interest area as AI then 25 years ago.
Yes. In fact, the first, I had built this Nepali text-to-speech synthesizer, which is making machines talk in Nepali. And I released it as an open source software. I did a presentation at NAST, at the time RONAST, and I gave a presentation on how to build a Nepali speech synthesis, like making machines speak in Nepali. And that was 24 years ago.
How was the reaction after that? Did anybody come back and consult you and try to develop that into a new thing in Nepal?
It was good, like at the moment but it didn't materialize into anything else out of it. So we released it as open source. But Nepal was pretty far behind in computer science, IT, especially 20-something years ago. There was barely internet, right? And a lot of the talent we have, who has exposure, was not there yet. So nobody really knew what to do with it. Somebody came, presented Nepali speech synthesis system. Okay, it sounds great, but how to use it here, how to build on it, none of that happened. So that software just stayed there in the shelf.
Before starting your own company, you worked for some world-renowned companies. When exactly did you decide it's time now for me to start my business?
So after PhD, I worked at IBM Watson Research Center as a research staff member for a few years. And as I mentioned, it was that interest of building speech-to-speech translation system, and IBM had one of the best speech-to-speech translation system research group at the time. And as I did research and published papers, and did more research and published papers, it came to a point where I saw, well, I've been doing research by then I'd been doing research for almost 15 years. And we're doing research and publishing. Like, it's not really impacting lives in the scale that I wanted. So after about 5 years after working at IBM, I said, okay, can I take all the learnings in AI I've been doing since like early 2000 to this is like 2013, 2012. Can I take all of that and apply into a business and start a company, build an AI product and sell it, build a business around it so that it can have impact? And that's sort of what I did.
In the next part of the conversation, we'll talk about the Fuse machines itself. Well, Dr. Maski, if I don't ask you these questions, maybe I'll not be doing justice to my viewers as well. How rich are you at this moment?
It all depends on how one perceives wealth, right? At the end of it, what matters is the family and health. For me, that's the most important thing, the family and being there and making an impact and so forth. The total market cap for the deal was 200 million. Post money is 280 million. And the opening, at that opening had $10. It has gone down and it's opened at less. So as the share prices move back and forth, it could come down, it could go up, and so forth. But it's no longer just me, right? It's all of our employees, many of our employees are shareholders, a lot of the investors are shareholders.
Is it possible for a Nepal-based company to be enlisted globally, like in NASDAQ or in other global share market or stock exchanges? Is it possible? It has to be US-based.
I think from legality perspective, at least Nepal laws do not allow a fully Nepali company to be listed in NASDAQ because of some of the old rules and laws around Nepali citizens' rights of owning foreign assets and foreign shares and so forth. If that changes, then definitely so. As of right now, it has to be, at least as of right now, if there are companies that are headquartered in the US and is based in the US, but have significant presence and have origins in Nepal, they can definitely list in NASDAQ.
So you are the first company that was founded by a Nepali person of Nepali origin to be enlisted in NASDAQ. How big is it?
I would say, being the company that has, basically we have a lot of presence in here. We are Nepali roots, Nepali values, and so forth. And from that perspective, being one of the first company to have such level of roots and ties to Nepal and being listed in NASDAQ is extremely satisfying, obviously. And I hope it becomes an example for other companies to strive and be listed in NASDAQ or other New York, other stock exchanges. And I hope we are the first among many to do that.
What's your next business plan? Like, you're spreading slowly into a global business. You are already in South America, in some of the countries in North America, Canada, US, also Nepal-based, you said. So what's your next plan to promote the business globally?
Especially as a public company, growth is one of the most significant metric that everybody looks at us from, right? So from that perspective, one of the biggest focus would be growth. Both organic growth with our own team doing more sales and so forth, and with inorganic growth as well, with potential acquisitions and M&A activities and so forth. As far as the scaling out from just the US and Nepal, we've already on multiple countries, and we will continue to expand based on the needs of the clients, based on where we see the most value being generated and where the growth from sales happens.
There must have been challenges in the journey. Right now, as you said, you started it in 2013, almost 12 years of hard work, promotion, dedication, vision, innovation, as you said, right? As I have seen, as I saw myself, most of the Nepalese or Nepali diaspora in the US, I found a lot of youngsters working in the field of IT. So what are the challenges for, let's say, Nepali youngsters in the US or even in Nepal to build a business in IT or AI at present? What are the major challenges that you would suggest they should resolve those first?
Particularly in Nepal?
Nepal, as well as the Nepali diaspora in the US who want to emulate your steps.
I would say Nepali diaspora has an easy. I mean, starting a company is not easy, obviously, but if you look at the challenges, the youth in Nepal, they are faced with more challenges on trying to start a business and scale it. I would say there are various reasons for it, and there are many kinds of challenges. And one of the biggest challenges I would say is on funding, because especially as a smaller company, as a smaller startup, funding, you do need funding to sustain the company as you try to figure out product market fit, service market fit, and you need to be able to sustain that while you might not be making a lot of revenue. Especially if you want to go for, solving very extremely hard problems, you might not have a revenue coming in soon. In those cases, places like the United States or other countries, there's more capital, there's more risk capital available, where the investors may take a chance saying, okay, let's see where this can lead to, where you are able to take the risk and really build a very strong suite of products without having a clear revenue model right in the day one. But obviously all businesses require revenue models, but you get longer time to do that. In Nepal, there is not a lot of financing mechanisms for an entrepreneur to stay afloat while they are taking this risk and building these extremely difficult products. So that's one of the biggest challenges I see.
For an innovation like AI, IT, initially to be an enterprise has to have an impact. In Nepal, where IT still is, I would not say a luxury right now, because we do have access almost across the country right now, though intermittent at times. So what challenge do you see in a country like ours, where you would see more and more IT-based company, AI-based companies emerging?
So besides the capital, I think compute infrastructure is there's not, for example, even we struggle to find enough GPUs. And for AI, you need a lot of GPUs and compute power to build these models, train these models, inference, and do an inference and so forth. And if we want the tech infrastructure and the overall tech ecosystem in Nepal to really produce a lot of tech companies, IT companies that are building products for Nepal, in Nepal, for Nepalese, then the compute infrastructure needs to be figured out. And that has not been done so. So I think that's one of the challenges. There are other challenges, obviously, from intellectual property laws and so forth, right? Like in a lot of more developed countries, some of these laws are more fine-tuned, so nobody can just do whatever they want, and if they are infringing copyrights and so forth, some of those needs to be also tightened up, so that somebody who's taking that risk and building something has some capacity to say, this is what I built and this is my intellectual property.
Going back to Fuse Machines, Dr. Maske, what makes a great company? Fuse Machines, let's say, where would you rank in the scale of a great company from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest?
I do not know how to rank the company that I started. But what I can say is, for any company, one of the most crucial factor is the culture of the company, on how everybody comes together to do something very big. And in order to do that, one of the most important stuff is vision. Like, what is the overall vision of the company? So I think the vision brings about the clarity on where you want to go. And the culture is part of the main DNA of the company that makes a company exciting to work for, exciting to join, exciting to build things for. And those parameters makes a great company.
So if I say it's great visionary leadership, backed up by a very creative and ethical workforce, that makes a great company. Would I be wrong?
Yeah, I think that is a good way to sum it.
So Fuse Machine is right in that track. Would you say that?
So we have amazing set of leaders in the company who are unified in the vision of democratizing AI, and that thesis of what we believe in, of making sure especially talent is everywhere, but opportunities are not, and opportunities should be. And having that clarity on that vision and all the leadership seeing that and creating the culture needed for the company to fulfill that dream. I think that makes the Fuse machines be able to execute things the way we want, that has allowed us to be at this stage.
How is the work culture, as you said, like how multinational is the team right now in Fuse machines?
Oh, very much. So, there are many languages get spoken. We are across quite a few countries in Latin America as well. We have employees in India, consultants in India. We have largest presences in Nepal. Then we're in Canada. So there's a mix of different cultures and languages, which makes it very exciting
to work as and to lead it as well. Yes. Well, very inspiring story of Dr. Samir Maske. That's what we are hearing right now, right here at the studios of NTV World. And in the next part of this conversation, we talk about Dr. Samir Maske as an international Nepali citizen, the flag bearer of Nepal in the global market. Dr. Maske, you have emerged as a Nepali flag bearer in the global business arena, but the emergence of your, let's say, emergence remained a pleasant surprise to many in Nepal. It was very quiet journey. We only came to know about your Fuse machines, Dr. Samir Maske, very few. But how did you keep it so quietly, or how did you do it intentionally quietly?
We've been building the business for almost 12, 13 years. And when you are truly trying to fulfill your vision, it's never about it's never about marketing and brand and stories and whatnot. It's about the overall ethos of what you're trying to do, which is impact lives, bring job opportunities, provide high quality education. So we've been doing that for a while because that's the core mission of Fuse machines. And as we have done it, people have heard about some of the fellowship programs we have done. So we started AI Fellowship, Fuse Machines AI Fellowship, almost 7-8 years ago. I took some of my courses and packaged it and then taught it here to a surprisingly amazing results, which allowed us and said, okay, we should take that and make it a full-blown AI Fellowship program. Mm-hmm. And now, especially among young youth who are trying to learn AI, they know the AI Fellowship program quite well. Whenever we open the fellowship programs, we get thousands of applicants. So, it's among the community of AI and engineers, people do know about Fuse machines, mm-hmm. but probably maybe not in a broader Nepal view.
Anyway, it has been a very successful journey, but can you define success now? It's a very, let's say, ambiguous question I might be asking, but for you, what is success? How can you define it, relating it to you personally?
So, success, the word success could mean different things for different people, right? Depending on the age, depending on where you're at the stage of life and so forth. For a young kid, passing that final exam and getting 100% is the success. For a global world leader, impacting millions of lives is probably a success. So it means different things for different people. If I had to think about that word itself, what comes to my mind is family, being there for them. My wife, my kids, my mother, my sister, brother, and so forth, and being there when they need me, and being able to share the experience as a whole together is a success.
Has it changed you a bit, the success that you've achieved in the last few years, especially after, let's say, the enlisting in the US stock exchange? Has it changed you personally? Has your life changed, or it's still the same?
No, nothing has changed. It is still the same. There's been a bit of exposure here, and there's been news articles and whatnot, but no, nothing has changed on a day-to-day life.
Well, Dr. Maske, being a Nepali citizen originally, Was it difficult or easier for you to work in the US, especially when you were trying to build up a business?
US is a melting pot of pretty much all citizens around the world, of all ethnicity, races, and so forth. I went as a very young kid, right, as right after high school, and it didn't make as much of a difference, especially when you are among the students who are all there to study. Nepal definitely has that charm for a lot of people, where they learn about Mount Everest, they learn about the culture here, and so forth. From a perspective of having deep roots and values that have been instilled to me by my mom and the family, has definitely helped, right? The transparency, truth, ethics, these are like hospitality, these are some of the values that you learn in Nepal when you grow up. And those have definitely helped me in a global world on being able to compete.
So your roots have definitely helped you?
Absolutely, absolutely. Nepali roots have absolutely helped me.
We are just talking about the journey, the dedication, hard work that Dr. Samir Maske and his team, the multinational team behind the success of the Fuse machine, put up in these 13 years for the investment in NASDAQ. Now, in the next part of our conversation, we talk about AI, which I am a novice in, and to much of our viewers must be more interesting because they are much into it. How would you define AI, the artificial intelligence, Dr. Maske, being a practitioner and in fact a person who has built up a business, a very successful one in it? How would you define AI? What exactly is AI?
You can think of it as a machine that takes input, does a reasoning on it, and produces an output that is useful for humans. If I were to define it in the simplest form, that's what it would be. That reasoning system that sits in the middle, taking input and producing outputs that's useful for humans.
Is it still an evolving technology, or it's at its peak? In the next 5 years, how would it evolve, if it's evolving?
It is still very evolving. And the pace of evolution, or the change in AI and the tech behind AI, is unlike I've ever seen before, right? Like, I did research in question answering system. The natural language processing world has been my life from PhD to at IBM to teaching, all of that. But over the last 5 years, suddenly everything has changed in AI. A lot of things have changed. So the speed at which AI is changing is extremely rapid, and it will continue to do so. Definitely there is a little bit of overhype where people think, like when I talk to some enterprise C-suite, they think, they may have heard and read and whatnot, and they think everything under the sun can be solved with AI, which is not the case. But it can do a lot at the moment.
Where do you see the technology in the next 5 years?
So,
especially I'm asking you this question because there's a few people like me who do not have much information about AI. We fear as if it is going to replace human intelligence, or even job loss, or let's say loss of privacy. These are some of the issues that we basically fear. So is that a valid fear in us?
Some of it could be valid from a perspective of, maybe not in 5 years, but in 10 years, are all the cars going to drive itself, right? And I was just in San Francisco recently, and
that's already a reality there.
It's already a reality. I ordered a Waymo, which is similar to Uber, but it's a driverless car. A car just came near me, the door opened, I sat inside, and it just took me a route, stopped and opened and got out. There was no driver. So now that tech is evolving very fast, and more cities are producing that. Now that could generate genuine questions to all the people who are making their livelihood based on driving cars or driving, like providing this.
Or the Uber service, let's say, to be specific in the US.
Now, should they be worried a bit?
They are worried, because I had a very interesting conversation with some of the people in LA itself who are in this service. So they were pretty much worried, especially the diaspora, Nepali diaspora, or the people who are relying to that. So that could be a possibility?
That could definitely be a possibility. So there are jobs where it could potentially be fully automated. But having said that, I would say AI brings in a lot of augmentation and efficiency gains, which will not necessarily replace the human, but produce a lot more efficient human, almost like a superhuman, where the person will be able to do more jobs in less amount of time. And that efficiency gains could impact overall economic output, which could then generate a lot more new kind of jobs. Right? Like already there is prompt engineering, which does not exist before. AI audit, like auditing AI models, those kind of jobs did not exist. So there are new jobs already being created. So I think that will happen as well.
How foolproof is it, Dr. Maske? Can we 100% rely on it?
Foolproof as in, will it always be accurate? And I mean, depends on the problem that it is working on.
Since you're talking about auditing, for example, so would it be 100% correct in that sense?
At least probably, if you try to build an AI audit system at this point, it probably will not. And in many cases, it might never be 100%, because we as humans also make error.
Or the people like you would like to leave some space for the humans there as well?
No, the thing is, the AI is just learning from humans. And when it's learning from humans, if the training data has a certain amount of ambiguity, then it will also not be able to separate out some of those ambiguities, in which case it will make those errors. So in many cases, you will see 95% accuracy or 96%. In some instances, it has gone to 99%. But if you look at enterprise AI being built right now, in many cases, it is actually 90% or less than 90%, right? So there's still a decent amount of progress that we need to do to make AI what I quote unquote foolproof, which is not the case for every instance right now.
Well, enlighten me on this particular question, Dr. Maske. People like me who are still a novice, or people like many of our viewers who are pretty much, let's say, a novice in AI, will they be a misfit in near future in the society?
Misfit as in?
In terms of everything, because we are taking assistance for AI, as you said earlier, could be a misinterpretation or misuse of the technology itself, for each and everything, from students doing their homework to designing mega projects. We have heard AI can be used and is being used. So if you do not know how to get acquainted with it, or if you're not acquainted with it, will that person be a misfit soon in the society?
Yeah, I would say as the AI evolves and it produces these tools that we can use for efficiency gains and so forth, the more and more people should learn how to use some of these tools, because if you don't use it, I don't know if misfit is the word, but you will be left behind, right? Because somebody else who has a similar job or role and academic credentials, if knows how to be 50% or 100% more efficient because he or she knows how to use the tools, then obviously that person has an advantage.
Let's move on to one of the slogans of your company, Dr. Maske. Democratizing AI is one of the slogans of your company, Fuse Machines. Can you tell us more about it? Why AI needs democratization? And what does that slogan exactly mean?
For us, it means providing AI education, high quality AI education in all the underserved countries and communities around the world and in the United States. And providing that access to AI such that everybody is able to learn AI and build AI for their own communities. That's what democratized AI means for us.
So your company is championing that. How much of that contribution your company has started making in, let's say, making it more accessible in every nooks and corners of this world, let's say?
So we've been doing AI fellowship as part of the democratizing AI effort in Nepal, We've done in a few countries in Africa, we've done in Latin America, we've done in the United States. So we've been providing this free education as part of that mission and journey. In Nepal, we've been doing fellowship programs for quite a while, and we launched a program called AI Shiksha for Nepal as part of this democratizing AI effort. And we will continue to do so. And the hope is AI Shiksha for Nepal program will, through that program, we'll be able to provide AI education to many, many, many students here in Nepal.
What is the contribution of a country like Nepal in the global AI ecosystem?
It can make a lot of contribution.
That's a meaningful statement. It can make.
Yes, it can make a big contribution, a very meaningful contribution to the in the global stage of AI. And I would say that partly because of the talent here. There is a lot of talent who can be trained in AI and who can produce both services and product for the world. Services, obviously, outsourcing services and other kind of services can be done here from Nepal. But beyond that, I think the talent is so good that if we just train them a bit more and make them competitive enough for a global stage, then they will be able to build products right here in Nepal for the world. In which case you will have products built in Nepal, sold out all outside of Nepal and in Nepal. And I think that will be a global contribution. But beyond that, even for Nepal, I think there are a lot of AI products that could be built in Nepal for Nepal by Nepali engineers. And I think that will be amazing to see in the coming months, years, and the decade.
My question is, the ethical use of AI, how would you promote it and advocate it, given that your slogan, democratizing AI, is also trying to spread it across? So does that promote the ethical use of AI or the random use of AI?
So when we do provide AI education, we talk, one of the chapters and sections is about ethics, AI ethics and AI policies and so forth. And this is a very important question because AI is impacting a lot of lives and it's starting to automate a lot of things. And as you said, some people might lose jobs, some people might not be happy about this. But in total, net, I think there's a lot of good that is coming. But even then, ethics and how AI and the data privacy sort of interacts with it, and do we have right policies on data privacies? Do we have right laws mandated on face recognition? So those are some of the very important questions that we need to address. And I think many countries are starting to catch up to the tech, right? Because the tech's so speeding ahead that government, federally, locally, are still doing a catch-up game on policies, right? And to give you an example, there was a law passed a while ago that, not in Nepal, outside of Nepal, that if you are using an AI system to filter resumes for more than 50%, that model needs to be audited. But what does model auditing, AI model auditing even means, and who's going to do it? None of that was clear, right? So that created a situation where people were confused. So I think, especially things related to AI and the ethics of AI, there needs to be more study. There needs to be more policymakers who has also studied AI, spend time on it, and figure out how all of this intersection needs to be untangled to make sure AI is impacting lives for better and not necessarily for worse.
We see a lot of misuse of AI, let's say defaming someone, infringing into privacy of someone. So could there be a system within the AI itself that could stop things like that?
If not fully stop, at least identifying misinformation, fake videos, fake pictures, those are some of the new AI systems being built. We are all, because we have had some issues where, for example, the candidates, especially when we are hiring remote engineers, the person who interviewed versus person who applied and who started working were all different. And we didn't catch fast enough until they got onboarded. And then we realized, oh, the person who's attending the meeting doesn't look anywhere like the person who interviewed, right? And we are playing that catch up. And that playing that catch-up requires actually additional kind of AI systems, which will also help us to catch fake videos and fake interviewers, like job interviewers who are interviewing with generated faces in the interviews, and so forth. So to catch the systems, we need, it's the AI system generating the problems, but at the same time, we need AI systems to help us catch those problems as well.
And that needs greater investment, as you said, greater enforcement. For example, kids as young as, let's say, 10, 12, were exposed to AI tools, are not aware about the ethical use of AI, because the system that they are exposed with would be the cheaper one, readily available one, free to use one, which are more onto attracting users and generating money out of that. So can there be a system within the AI to control things as such?
Yeah, definitely. I think there is verification systems coming in place. And I think even the large language model systems like ChatGPT and others are coming up with a framework on how to give a safe access to kids of certain ages, below 13, below 9, below 18, and so forth. So those could be built in.
Very interesting conversation. We're talking to Dr. Samir Maske, founder and CEO of Fuse Machines, adjunct associate professor at University of Columbia, teaches artificial intelligence, which could replace you and I tomorrow unless we get to learn about it, unless we learn more and more about it. We are trying to conclude this conversation now. Dr. Samir Maske, what message do you have to the aspiring Nepali entrepreneurs who want to build businesses around AI, IT, and go globally as you?
What I would say is, for aspiring entrepreneurs here, you have the talent, you have skills that are equally competitive to any other aspiring entrepreneurs around the world. And if you aspire to build an AI company, you should absolutely go for it and build it and start a dream here, but I'm pretty sure many will be able to take it to the global stage. So you should just absolutely go for it.
Final thought on the political changes that the country has seen, if any you want to make?
There's been a lot of changes over time, and some of the frustrations have boiled up to a level where it brought about this change. And this puts us at a beginning stages of being able to bring a new kind of processes, new kind of developments, and a new energy in the youth that hopefully will energize the whole government. And hopefully with the new election coming in, we'll have a new government set up that will work for all Nepali citizens for the greater good of Nepal.
Dr. Samir Maske. Dr. Maske, it was a great pleasure for NTV World Studios to have you on Declassified. Wish you more luck, and maybe you would be able to make your company more global next time we meet again. Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, we had a very inspiring conversation with Dr. Samir Maske, the founder and CEO of Fuse Machines. Hope this conversation inspires all the budding entrepreneurs who would like to follow his footsteps, if not being better than what he has achieved so far. Well, do keep us following on our social media platforms, our Facebook page, our X page, our TikTok handle, and also on our website www.ntvworldnepal.com. Until next time, from this episode of Declassified, bye-bye.
Hello, Saudi Kharka, hello! Wow!
एकदमै राम्रो रहेछ रिफ्रेस्ड फिल भयो त्यो क्योसबाट अलि टाढा आएको जस्तो
यहाँसम्मको एउटा केबल कार भइदिए एकदम बेटर हुन्थ्यो जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई
माहौल अथवा यहाँको वातावरण यति रमणीय छ कि यसलाई शब्दमा वर्णन गर्न पनि साध्य छैन
The gently flowing Sani Bheri is suddenly veiled by drifting clouds, and with the chill rising from its swift current, the desire to soar is fulfilled as we enter eastern Rukum. Stone and clay houses stacked upon one another, the white Himalayan peaks, vibrant flower gardens of Bukit Batan, melodious rivers and lakes, and unique authentic arts and culture. All of these make Eastern Rukum a place that captivates every visitor. Our aim is to bring this distant, remote land closer to all. This time our destination is Chauri Kharga, located at an altitude of about 4,000 meters above sea level. Our trek begins at Bati Halune. On the border of Eastern Rukum and Baglung along the Mid-Hill Highway. Though it is said that the hike to Chauri Kharga takes around 3 hours, we wonder how long it will take us.
रमाइलो छ उड्डान छ हात हाततिर यतै ल घामले गर्दा मैले एउटा सेकेन्ड रमाइलो लाग्यो भन्ने चौन गर्दा भन्ने यस्तो रमाइलो ठाउँ रहेछ हेर्नु
I'm very happy.
हिजो हामीले यस्तो मजाको सिन हेर्न पाइएन अहिले चाहिँ त्यही अब आज हजुर
बिहान 5 बजेबाट ल्याएको हिजो बेलुका त पुरै कुहिरो दियो यहाँ त केही देखिएन
Chorikarka sits high in the hills of Bhumi Rural Municipality 1 in eastern Rukum. It is truly a rare gift of nature, beyond words to fully describe. In winter, these hills lie under a blanket of snow, but now they open up in vibrant color. Green pastures, wide grazing lands, blossoming flowers, and herds of yaks, sheep, and horses make Chorikarka a destination of extraordinary delight. When the sun breaks through the northern peaks, Puta, Dhaulagiri, Churi, and Sisni, they reveal themselves in full grandeur. Rivers flowing through the valleys, including the northern Ganga and Niseldhor, together with the backdrop of Dhorpatan, enchant every traveler. The meadows of Chaurikharka bloom with colorful flowers. Among them, cows, sheep and horses graze peacefully, creating a scene that feels almost dreamlike. Travelers walk along narrow trails, disappearing and reappearing through the mist, immersed in the enchantment of the landscape.
हाम्रो वरिपरिको यो डाँडाहरू भ्यू भनेको उसु भने वाइल्ड फ्लावर्सले सबैले एकदम रिफ्रेश त्यही नै भन्ने होला आउनु पनि वर्थ इटै छ
The weary faces of trekkers brighten as they take in these views, and you can clearly see joy and wonder reflected in their eyes. Fatigue melts away into the beauty of nature. Eastern Rukum is blessed with a wealth of natural treasures, mountains, rivers, lakes, caves, and valuable herbs. In recent years, Chaurikharka has become an increasingly popular destination for domestic travelers, drawing visitors eager to witness its natural magnificence.
Spain is evacuating passengers from a hantavirus-stricken cruise ship anchored near Tenerife in the Canary Islands. Health Minister Monica Garcia said the operation was proceeding normally and that all passengers on board the MS Honduras are still not showing any symptoms. Passengers could be seen wandering around on the deck of the ship or at the windows, all in white medical face masks, as the first evacuation took place. Several sat socially distanced on the first evacuation boat, filming and taking photos as they approached land, where they were met by officials in white protective suits. The ship's passengers are being divided into groups by nationality to be ferried to shore. They are being taken by bus to the local airport, where chartered planes will repatriate them to their home countries. 14 Spanish nationals are the first to be disembarked, then those flown out by the Netherlands, including Dutch, Greek, German passengers and part of the crew. Other flights are poised to depart after that, including to the UK and US. The last evacuation flight is expected to leave for Australia on Monday.
There will be small boats that will bring the passengers in groups to the dock. There will be a medical screening that will be done. If there's anybody that develops symptoms, anybody that has symptoms, they will immediately go to a medical evacuation plane and be taken to the Netherlands for care.
The outbreak has been linked to a landfill site in the southernmost tip of Argentina, popular with birdwatchers. The virus is carried there by rodents, and it's rare for it to pass between people, but 3 cruise passengers have already died.
But what we do recommend is the active monitoring and follow-up of all of the passengers and crew who disembark for a 42-day period. That doesn't mean 42 days from now or from tomorrow. It actually means 42 days from the last point of exposure. So that has already started. That clock has already started ticking.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has said he thinks Russia's conflict with Ukraine is coming to an end, addressing reporters after a scaled-back military parade in Moscow, marking the Soviet victory in World War II. Putin also criticized Western countries for helping Ukraine.
Ну, все замечательно, пообещали помощь и начали раскручивать противостояние с Россией, которое продолжается до сих пор. Я думаю, что дело идет к завершению, но все-таки это серьезная вещь.
Putin's comments came just hours after he used his Victory Day's parade to justify the war. In that speech, he said Russia was fighting a just war and called Ukraine an aggressive force that was being armed and supported by the whole bloc of NATO. Russia's annual parade lacked the usual display of tanks and missiles due to security concerns, as officials feared Ukraine might target Red Square with drones. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, there was no military hardware at the Red Square parade, which the Kremlin normally showcases to project Russian military power on the international stage. Meanwhile, a last-minute ceasefire between Moscow and Kiev, brokered by U.S. President Donald Trump, reduced the danger of any attack, and the parade passed off without any incident. Russian forces seized Crimea and parts of eastern Ukraine in 2014, then launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Putin said he will only meet Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky once a lasting peace deal has been agreed to. Putin said he had heard that Zelensky was ready to hold a personal meeting, but added that this is not the first time he has heard such statements. As part of the US-led ceasefire deal over the weekend, Kiev and Moscow agreed to a swap of 1,000 prisoners from each country. But Putin said on Saturday that Russia had not yet heard from Ukraine about any exchanges.
has announced a formal blockade of Iranian ports and coastal areas. This is illegal action.
The naval standoff in the Gulf threatened to boil over following days of clashes and tit-for-tat accusations as a cargo ship was hit up by Qatar and Iran warned it to target U.S. interests in the region. Qatar's defense ministry said the freighter had been arriving in the country's waters from Abu Dhabi and was hit by a drone northeast of the port of Mesaid. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations Center said a bulk carrier had reported being struck by an unknown projectile. This came after Iran's Revolutionary Guards threatened to target U.S. interest in the Middle East if its tankers come under fire, as they had done on Friday when a U.S. fighter jet fired on and disabled two Iran-flagged vessels in the Gulf of Oman to prevent them from continuing to Iranian ports. Iran has choked off the Strait of Hormuz, a vital route out of the Gulf for oil, gas and fertilizer, seeking to exert economic leverage over the United States and its allies. The U.S. Navy, meanwhile, is blockading and sometimes disabling or diverting ships heading to and from Iran's ports. Tension is rising as Washington waits for Tehran to respond to its latest offer of a deal to extend a ceasefire to allow the rival sides to enter into peace negotiations. U.S. President Donald Trump had said he was expecting Pakistani mediators to receive Iran's answer on Friday, but none had been made public.
Large crowds gathered outside the Hungarian parliament building on Sunday to celebrate the official inauguration of Péter Magyar as Hungary's new prime minister, marking a major political shift in the country after more than a decade of nationalist rule. Supporters waving flags and chanting filled the area surrounding parliament as Magyar formally took office following his party's decisive victory in the April general election. The atmosphere resembled a public celebration with thousands of people turning out to witness the beginning of a new political era in Hungary. Magyar's Tisza party secured a landslide victory in the election, winning 141 of the 199 seats in parliament. The result ended the 16-year rule of former Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, whose nationalist government had dominated Hungarian politics since 2010. The election outcome has been widely viewed as one of the most significant political changes in Hungary in recent decades, with voters backing promises of political reform, economic recovery, and closer engagement with European partners. Security was heightened around Parliament during the inauguration ceremony, while celebrations continued throughout central Budapest as supporters welcomed the transition of power. Thousands of salt workers in western Gujarat are continuing to endure extreme heat and harsh working conditions as annual heat waves intensify across India's desert salt pans. An estimated 50,000 workers spend up to 8 months each year in remote salt fields in the region, where temperatures regularly soar to dangerous levels. Many workers live without electricity, healthcare facilities, or reliable infrastructure while harvesting salt under direct sunlight. Workers depend heavily on water tankers, which reported arrive only once every 25 days to supply drinking and washing water, highlighting the severe living conditions faced by laborers in the isolated desert areas. Salt workers describe the physical toll caused by prolonged exposure to salt and heat. India experiences intense heat waves every year, but conditions in Gujarat's salt pans are considered among the harshest in the country. Climate experts have repeatedly warned that rising temperatures linked to climate change are increasing health risks for outdoor laborers and vulnerable communities across South Asia.
A student-led chess initiative in Gaza City is providing residents with a rare sense of normalcy and social connection amid the ongoing conflict in the territory. Founded by 19-year-old certified chess player Ragat Adas, the chess club aims to create a safe and calm environment where people from different backgrounds and age groups can gather despite the hardships caused by the war. The club has drawn participants ranging from children to adults, offering residents an opportunity to focus on strategy and competition, away from the daily realities of displacement, destruction, and uncertainty. Adas said the game helps bridge social divisions and encourages interaction among the community. The initiative reflects broader efforts by civilians in Gaza to preserve educational, cultural, and recreational activities during the conflict as humanitarian conditions remain severe.
A giant panda has been caught on camera indulging in bamboo shoots while lying flat on its back at northwest China's Qinling Giant Panda Research Center, charming viewers with the most leisurely mealtime imaginable. In the video, Rong Rong lounged comfortably on the sunny grass, nibbling a tender shoot held in his left paw. His right paw clutched a second shoot, already waiting its turn. Once he finished the first, the piggy bear bit the other one in half with a single crunch, tossed aside the tougher bottom part, and savored only the tender tip. When all that chewing got tiring, Rong Rong took a break. He stretched out flat on his back, rolled onto his side, and scratched an itch with the hind paw. After a few minutes of rest, he was ready to snack again. Rong Rong is the offspring of Chazai, a brown and white giant panda whose rare coloring has made him an online sensation. At nearly 4 years old, Rong Rong is in his sub-adult stage, the panda equivalent of a human teenager.
The 26th edition of Kaftan Week officially opened in Morocco under the theme Atlas Breathe in an artistic and cultural celebration highlighting the richness and diversity of Moroccan heritage. The annual event stands as a major gathering for lovers of fashion and traditional attire, bringing together leading Moroccan designers and artisans to showcase creations inspired by the spirit of the Atlas region, its colors, ornaments, and authentic cultural elements. This edition aims to spotlight the Moroccan kaftan as a symbol of elegance passed down through the generations, while emphasizing designers' ability to blend authenticity with modernity through creations reflecting the kingdom's cultural identity.
Thousands of residents and visitors line the Hong Kong streets of as the annual Tin Hau Birthday Parade returned to mark the birthday of Tin Hau, one of the most important traditional festivals in the southern Chinese communities. The parade, a long-standing cultural tradition in Yuan Long, was led by a 38-meter golden dragon weaving through the district's main roads. Festival participants and spectators reached out to touch the dragon, a gesture believed to bring prosperity, good health, and blessings for family and children. Following closely behind was a large raisin dragon presented by the Junior Police Call campaign, using the traditional display to promote anti-fraud awareness messages to the public. The colorful procession attracted large crowds along the route, with many residents gathering early to watch the celebrations. Organizers said 33 teams took part in this year's parade, including rural fireworks groups and community organizations from across Yuan Long. The annual Tin Hau Festival falls on the 23rd day of the third lunar month in the Chinese calendar and is widely observed by fishing and coastal communities. The Yuan Long procession has been held since 1963 as part of traditional prayers for favorable weather, safety, and abundant harvests. Turkey's Dudon Lake is currently hosting nearly 40,000 migratory birds from around 180 different species. Known among locals as a flamingo paradise, the lake has become a vibrant refuge for wildlife following recent rainfall that significantly increased water levels and revived the surrounding ecosystem. Striking images of the migratory birds inhabiting the lake captured, including large flocks of flamingos, often referred to in Anatolia as the crimson cranes. In addition to flamingos, the lake provides shelter for numerous bird species such as the white-headed duck, pied avocet, ferruginous duck, and Mediterranean gull. Covering an area of approximately 860 kilometers, the lake is fed by the Degir Menazu stream and serves as a crucial breeding, feeding, and resting habitat for migratory birds traveling along regional migration routes.
Welcome to the new episode of the Hinterlands on NTV World. This weekly show brings together stories from the hinterlands of Nepal, takes you beyond the cities and highways into the heart of Nepal's rural landscapes. I am Rosina Rai and we will be leading you into this journey every week. We begin in Bhaktapur, where displacement caused by encroachment demolitions under the Nepal government has deeply affected children both psychologically and physically. School-going children from displaced families are currently studying while living in temporary shelters provided by the authorities, which are said to be safe. However, uncertainty continues to loom large as many children are struggling with an unstable future ahead. More in this report. The displacement caused by the demolitions has had serious psychological and physical impacts, especially on children. School-going children from displaced families are now learning in temporary shelters provided by the authorities, which are claimed to be safer for them. Their eyes reflect skepticism as they face an uncertain future. To help reduce the psychological trauma caused by the demolition of their homes and subsequent displacement, the government has introduced counseling alongside education. Through sports, art, and basic learning activities, efforts are being made to help them return to normal life. Children are attending informal classes within these temporary facilities. The authorities are also working to ensure that children's education is not disrupted by arranging alternative learning spaces and helping them maintain a sense of normal daily routine. Although these temporary learning arrangements provide some relief, integrating these children into the mainstream education system remains a major challenge. From the struggles faced by the displaced children, we now move to Nisti Rural Municipality in Western Palpa district, where child marriage once severely affected the education and the future of hundreds of students. In a remarkable achievement now, the municipality has reduced child marriage cases from 276 to just 7 over the past 3 years. The coordinated efforts of the local government, schools, and community members to eliminate this harmful social practice have been widely praised. Nisti Rural Municipality in Palpa district of Western Nepal has made significant progress in controlling child marriage in recent years. This municipality is predominantly inhabited by the Magar community, where child marriage among school-going children was once a common practice. However, over the past 3 years, early child marriage has steadily declined due to the collective efforts of the local government, community members, and other stakeholders. Remarkably, the number of child marriages has dropped dramatically from 276 cases in 2079 Bikram Sambat to just 7 at current time.
पहिलेको बाल विवाहको अवस्था भन्दा अहिले 70% चाहिँ सुधार भएर भनेको त्यो किसिमले चाहिँ घट्दो क्रममा बाल विवाहको अवस्था छ। यसरी हाम्रो निस्ती गाउँपालिकामा चाहिँ यो बाल मैत्री स्थानीय शासन कार्यान्वयन भए पश्चात चाहिँ बाल विवाहमा र अथवा बाल बालिकासँग सम्बन्धित विभिन्न सुधारका चाहिँ अवस्थाहरू देखेको पाइन्छ।
Goal of becoming a child-friendly municipality, Nisti has been actively conducting awareness programs since 2023 at both the community and school levels. The chairperson of the rural municipality, Mukta Bahadur Saru, stated that there are plans to declare the municipality child marriage-free and child-friendly by 2026. These initiatives include children's affairs, wall magazines, songs, dances, and street dramas aimed at raising awareness.
हामीले चाहिँ आज मिनी बाल मेलाको चाहिँ अवसरमा चाहिँ यहाँ सडक नाटक कथा कविताहरू चाहिँ प्रदर्शन गरिरहेका छौं र हामीले हाम्रो गाउँ समुदायमा चाहिँ सिकाइरहेका छौं। यस्ता क्रियाकलापहरूले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ समाजमा एकदमै राम्रो प्रभाव ल्याइरहेको छ।
Also, the municipality has prioritized the campaign against child marriage and has been implementing various programs over the past 4 years. Nepal's centuries-old Sanskrit Gurukul education system in far Sangza district is embracing change through modern technology and practical teaching methods. Ramnadi Dham Gurukul in Sangza district has been blending traditional learning with yoga, meditation and modern academic subjects, attracting students from various provinces across the country. Suviksha Rajak and Himal Neopani brings us this report ahead.
Centuries-old Sanskrit Gurukul system in Nepal is undergoing a remarkable transformation. Traditionally, Gurukul education was confined to rituals and theoretical learning of Sanskrit. But at the Ramnadi Dham Sanskrit Gurukul in Sangza, located on the scenic banks of Kali Gandaki River, students are now experiencing a blend of tradition and modernity. Established 6 years ago, the institution has introduced compulsory yoga, meditation, and practical learning from grades 6 to 12, aiming to foster positive mental energy and holistic development. Students dressed in monk-like attire attend classes not only indoors but also outdoors along the river banks, where they say the fresh air enhances concentration.
हामी चाहिँ बिहान र बेलुकाको समयमा भावगत ध्यान चाहिँ यही गंगाको तीरमा आएर नि गर्छौं र यसले हाम्रो मानसिक तथा शारीरिक ऊर्जा प्रदान गर्छ र हाम्रो यो शैक्षिक कार्यहरुमा चाहिँ यसले महत्त्वपूर्ण योगदान गरेको छ.
Alongside Sanskrit, Vedas and philosophy, subjects such as English, mathematics and science are taught with free residential facilities provided. After completing grade 12, students can pursue higher education in faculties of their choice. Currently, Sangza hosts 3 such religious schools with Ramnadi Dham accommodating 127 students. Its unique approach has attracted learners not only from Sangza but also from Palpa, Parbat, Rupandehi, Kapilvastu, Navalparasi and Chitwan, making it a growing hub of innovation.
गुरुकुलमा एउटा संस्कृतको श्लोक मात्रै पढाएर अर्थ मात्रै पढाएर भन्दा पनि उनीहरुलाई चाहिँ अहिलेको आवश्यकता अनि उनीहरुलाई त्यो प्र्याक्टिकलमा पनि गराउन आवश्यक भएकोले हामीले त्यो संस्कृतको श्लोक मात्रै नपढाएर उनीहरुलाई चाहिँ योग, ध्यान अनि सिद्धिको बारेमा चाहिँ हामीले उनीहरुलाई चाहिँ यहाँ पनि प्र्याक्टिकलको रूपमा गराउँदा पनि हामीले अझै यसमा चाहिँ
This integration of modern technology and practical methods into the Gurukul model is redefining education, ensuring that students receive both spiritual grounding and academic advancement.
We now add to a sweetness of this episode of The Hinterlands with the story of wild honey hunting. In northern Dhading of central Nepal, honey hunting is increasingly emerging as a major source of income for local communities there. Driven by rising demand and high market prices, many locals are turning this risky cliff-based practice into a profession. Vijeta Bhandari has more in this report.
Wild honey hunting in northern Dhading of central Nepal is increasingly becoming a source of income as rising demand and high prices push locals to turn the traditional practice into a profession. In Ganga Jamuna and Khanyabas rural municipalities of the district, residents collect wild honey twice a year, from mid-October to mid-December and again from mid-April to mid-June, scaling steep cliffs and venturing into remote forests in groups. The honey produced by the cliff bees in Nepal is also often referred to as mad honey, a rare type produced by the Himalayan bees that feed on rhododendron flowers. It is valued in small quantities for its medicinal properties, which has driven strong demand in niche markets and invited much international interest. While collecting the honey was once observed as a seasonal festival in Dhading, it is now seen more as a lucrative money-making activity. Youths form groups to go to remote areas of the jungle and cliffs to collect the honey. They use local resources and means and partake in this highly risky job of honey collection. The reward seems well worth the risk, however, as the cliff bee honey sells for around 3,000 Nepali rupees per kilogram in local markets, making it a lucrative activity in a region with limited economic opportunities.
एउटै मौरीले अनुकूल सिंचन मिल्यो भने यसको चाहिँ 8-10 केजी एउटै मौरीबाट निकाल्दो रहेछ। यसपालि पोहोर साल 13 वटा आएको थियो। त्यो 13 वटामा धेरै खोस्टाहरू थियो, पुरानो खोस्टा। त्यो पुरानो खोस्टा फालिसकेपछि यसपालि 28-29 वटा आइसकेको अवस्था रहेछ। त्यसपछि हामीले यसलाई अहिले काट्ने क्रम जारी छ।
Locals say the income has encouraged more people to take part, with the collected honey shared among the group members and then sold in the market. The practice, deeply rooted in local culture, is now evolving into a livelihood strategy. The activity is also beginning to attract attention as a potential tourism draw, with visitors drawn to both the dramatic cliff harvesting process and the uniqueness of the product. Community members believe that promoting wild honey hunting as a managed festival or attraction could support tourism and boost the local economy.
Before we end, we bring you a special story from Gulmi in Western Nepal, where local communities are working to preserve the ancient cultural tradition of Khatu Naच. Traditionally performed by the Magar and Gurung communities, the dance formally begins with the ritual worship during Baisak Purnima. To preserve and promote this endangered cultural heritage, locals have been organizing regular practice sessions and performances on various occasions. Let's take a look at this beautiful classical dance performed to rhythmic traditional beats. In the Bhangari area of Western Nepal, Gulmi, locals have been organizing practice sessions and performances of Khatu Nac, Khatu dance on various occasions. The sessions attract the younger generation to participate. This classical dance is performed to the rhythmic beats of the madal, a traditional drum accompanied by traditional songs. It is believed that during performances, young girls may become possessed by deities and sometimes even they lose their consciousness. Locals believe that young dancers with bodily wounds or those who have been bitten by snake or dog are not possessed by the Khatu spirits. The Khatu Nac, primarily performed by the Magar and Gurung communities, was popular in Western Nepal, including Gulmi, Sangja, Lomjung and Kaski. Its popularity has, however, been gradually diminishing. Recognizing its cultural significance, the local government authorities in Gulmi district began taking steps to preserve and promote this tradition for the future generations. Stakeholders say the active participation of the community members in promoting and preserving the dance is highly commendable.
यसलाई चाहिँ हामीले देश विदेशमा पुर्याउनलाई हामी अनवरत रूपमा लागि परेका छौं। यसको चाहिँ अहिले बल्ल महत्त्व बुझ्नेहरू बल्ल यसको चाहिँ घाटु नाचको अलिकति जानकारी लिनेहरूलाई हामीले प्रचार प्रसारद्वारा नै आकर्षण गरेका छौं।
The Khatu dance revolves around themes such as marriage, love, lifestyle, and hunting stories of the medieval king Parshuram and Queen Yomaudi. This dance is highly expressive, portraying different aspects of life such as birth, duties, animal husbandry, agriculture, and more. During the performance, the invocation and release of deities in the dancers are carried out through songs. The dance is especially performed on special occasions such as the full moon day during the Nepali month Baisak and Sri Panchami, often celebrated in a grand manner. Beyond the cities and the headlines, real lives continue to unfold. Stories are shaped by struggle, strengthened by resilience, and carried forward by the hope. This is the Hinterlands, and we will be back next week with more stories from the heart of Nepal. Do follow us on our website, nepaltelevision.com, social media handles, and our YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye for now.
Dai Lake in Karnali province is a geographically remote district, yet rich with untapped potential for tourism. Stepping into Dai Lake, celebrated as a treasure trove of Khas art, culture and heritage, brings a unique sense of joy. Journey begins amid its natural beauty, leading us toward Mahabur Rural Municipality. As we leave the mid-hill highway, the terrain becomes challenging, with hilly, muddy roads demanding patience and skill. Long lines of vehicles crawl carefully along the cliffs, reflecting both the difficulty of the route and the enduring devotion of Mahabud Dham. Many travelers choose to continue on foot, advancing step by step toward their destination. Passing through Channa, Dasarathi, Okharbans, Bhavsaini, Noli, and Unipata, pilgrims ascend the slopes toward Lisne before finally reaching Mahabu Patan. Pilgrims from Dai Lake and nearby districts often arrive late at night, having begun their journey the previous day. The path to Mahabud Dham is thrilling, adventurous, and breathtaking, made even more dramatic by the steady rain, drifting fog, and steep inclines. Yet the journey itself feels uniquely rewarding. Mahabu Lake or Mahabu Dham, located within Mahabur Rural Municipality, is a remarkable place of natural beauty, religious significance, and cultural heritage. Situated at an altitude of 4,200 meters, the area is adorned with emerald lakes, grazing flocks of sheep and goats, and a sky that dances with Himalayan mist. Every year, during Janai Purnima, a grand fair is held here, drawing thousands of devotees from across the region. Mahabud Dham's spiritual importance is deeply rooted in the ancient worship of Lord Shiva, revered here as the origin site. From Mahabu Lake, visitors can enjoy magnificent views of Api and Sai Palhimal, and on clear days, even the plains of Bardia. Given its religious importance and natural splendor, Mahabud Dham holds immense potential as a religious tourism destination. Improving the rough, narrow access roads is essential for supporting this growth. Mahabud Dham is more than a pilgrimage site. It is a confluence of culture, history, faith, and nature. To truly appreciate its significance, one must visit Mahabu Lake at least once, immerse oneself in its natural beauty, and experience the serene environment that leaves a lasting impression.
Good evening and welcome to Business World. I am your host Siksha Bhatrai. This week, the global economy did not quietly move in the background. It shifted in the ways that will be felt across markets, industries and households. We saw long-standing alliances being tested, trade tensions rising between major economies and billions of dollars flowing into industries that are redefining how the world works. We begin with the story shaping the global economic order. We start in the Gulf, where a major energy shift has reshaped global markets. The UAE has officially withdrawn from OPEC and OPEC Plus, ending decades of coordinated oil production policy. The move signals growing divisions among major producers and a more competitive global energy landscape.
The United Arab Emirates has formally exited OPEC and OPEC Plus, ending nearly 60 years of membership in the organization. Economists suggest the move is a political protest against the group's influence rather than a purely economic strategy. Following its departure, the UAE intends to increase oil production without the limits previously imposed by the cartel. Experts warn that the exit exposes deep rifts within the group and signals a potential collapse of government-run oil cartels.
اوپک از ابتدا یک سازمان خیلی مؤثری هم حتی نبود، بیشتر اثر سیاسی داشت تا اثر اقتصادی. همین تصمیم امارات عربی متحده هم همین نشون میده. اماراتی ها به طور کلی دارن اعتراض سیاسیشون رو به اوپک نشون میدن.
Moving to Asia now, US-China economic tensions have intensified again. China has moved to block US sanctions on 5 refiners accused of buying Iranian oil, calling the measures unfair and contrary to international norms.
Chinese-made smart clothing has stood out at the third phase of the 139th China Import and Export Fair, also known as the Canton Fair, winning over overseas buyers with stylish designs and user-friendly technologies. The third phase of the fair, running for May 1 to 5, focuses on toys, maternity and childcare products, home textiles, stationery, as well as health and leisure goods. An exhibition zone dedicated to functional and technological fabrics is available during this period. Smart apparel such as jackets with heating functions, outdoor workwear that changes color in response to UV intensity, and bamboo-based fabrics blended with coffee charcoal additives are attracting overseas buyers thanks to their comfort and eco-friendly benefits. Established in 1957, the Canton Fair takes place twice a year in South China's Guangzhou city. It is the longest running of several comprehensive international trade events in China, and it has been hailed as the barometer of China's foreign trade.
Across the Atlantic, trade tensions are building once again. Donald Trump has threatened to raise U.S. tariffs on European cars from 15% to 25%, putting pressure on ongoing trade negotiations. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said the EU is prepared for every scenario after US President Donald Trump threatened to hike levies on European cars. Trump has proposed increasing duties from 15% to 25%, accusing the bloc of failing to uphold a trade agreement reached last year, an allegation von der Leyen rejected.
Now we are both implementing this deal while respecting the different democratic procedures we have on both sides. On the European Union side, we are now in the final stages of implementing the remaining tariff commitments. At the same time, the US has the commitment, for example, where alignment with the agreed ceiling is still outstanding. So we want, from this work, mutual gain, cooperation and reliability, and we are prepared for every scenario.
The European Parliament has given conditional approval to the EU-US trade pact, but final negotiations with member states are still ongoing. US officials have criticized the EU's approval process as slow, suggesting changes could limit the deal. Despite the tensions, the European Commission says it remains committed to the agreement while keeping its options open if new tariffs are imposed. And in South Asia, governments are moving to stabilize the economies. Thailand is preparing an $11.7 billion emergency stimulus package to support households and businesses amid global uncertainty. Thailand's cabinet is set to review a proposed 400 million baht or around $11.7 billion emergency loan decree aimed at supporting the economy amid rising global uncertainty linked to Middle East tensions. Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul said the funds will finance the Thai Chue Thai Plus or Thai's Health Thai Plus stimulus package scheduled to run from June through September in 2026. A major component of the stimulus package is the Khon Lakring Plus or half and half plus co-payment scheme, expected to benefit more than 20 million citizens. In addition, around 13.4 million state welfare card holders will receive direct cash support totaling 4,000 baht or around $122 per person. These payments will be distributed in monthly installments of 1,000 baht starting June 1. The Finance Ministry estimates that these key measures alone will require over 100 billion baht in funding. Once approved, the draft decree will move through legal review and royal endorsement before being published, allowing the government to begin the process of securing the loans. Officials say registration for the schemes could open in the final 2 weeks of this month, with full rollout planned for June 1. China is deepening its economic presence in Africa. Beijing has expanded zero-tariff access to 53 African countries, strengthening trade ties and expanding its Global South strategy.
China has officially expanded its zero-tariff policy to include all 53 African nations with diplomatic ties. The initiative aims to create new pathways for African exports and industrialization, despite global protectionist pressures. Leaders from various African nations noted this access to a massive market will act as a major catalyst for regional development by eliminating duties on products from more developed economies like Kenya and Nigeria. The policy seeks to reduce poverty and enhance security. Economic stakeholders believe this move will allow Africa to participate more effectively in global trade through upgraded production facilities.
For us, this is a major opportunity for our countries because China is a massive market, and having access to such a massive market for our produce and products is a major opportunity that we must all seize.
In South Asia, Bangladesh has made a major aviation push. The country has signed a $3.7 billion deal with Boeing to expand its national airline fleet, its largest ever expansion.
Bangladesh has signed a $3.7 billion deal with Boeing to acquire 14 aircraft for its national carrier Biman Bangladesh Airlines, marking the airline's largest ever fleet expansion. The agreement, finalized at a formal ceremony in Dhaka, includes 8 787-10 Dreamliners, 2 787-9 Dreamliners, and 4 737-8 MAX jets to be delivered over the next decade. Officials said the 787-10 aircraft will primarily serve Middle Eastern routes, while the 787-9s will operate long-haul flights to Europe and North America. The deal was also linked to a broader tariff agreement with the United States, according to the state media. Biman currently operates a fleet of around 19 aircraft and serves 22 international destinations, including its longest route from Dhaka to Toronto via Istanbul.
In Europe, economic pressures are now being felt on the streets. Farmers, bakers, transport workers and fishermen in France have protested rising energy costs, saying higher prices are hurting small businesses and livelihoods. From global economic pressures and policy shifts, we now move to the world of innovation, where companies are investing heavily in technology, infrastructure and future mobility.
Several dozen farmers, fishermen, bakers, and transport workers gathered in on Sunday to protest rising energy prices in Paris. The demonstration was called, which brings together around 10 organizations, along with groups representing transport operators and private hired drivers. Participants said the continued increase in energy costs is placing growing financial pressure on small producers and service workers, threatening the sustainability of their businesses. Protesters highlighted the impact of higher fuel and electricity prices on production and distribution costs, arguing that many in the sector are are struggling to remain competitive while observing the rising expenses. The gathering remained peaceful, with attendees calling for government measures to ease the burden on energy-dependent industries.
Amazon has announced a €15 billion investment in France over 3 years. The move is expected to create more than 7,000 jobs and expand logistics, AI, and cloud operations across the country.
American tech and e-commerce giant Amazon has announced it will invest more than €15 billion, approximately $18 billion, in France over the next 3 years, according to a statement sent to an international media. The massive investment will support the construction of new logistics sites, the development of cloud and artificial intelligence capabilities, and the consolidation of existing networks across the country. The move is expected to create more than 7,000 jobs in France, delivering a significant boost to the French economy at a time of global economic uncertainty. The announcement comes as France has been actively courting major international investments, positioning itself as a leading destination for technology and infrastructure development in Europe. Amazon's commitment signals strong confidence in France as a strategic hub for its expanding European operations in logistics, cloud computing, and artificial intelligence.
And Europe has taken a major step into autonomous transport. Croatia has launched the continent's first commercial robo-taxi service in Zagreb, with self-driving vehicles operating in a controlled rollout phase.
Croatia's Verni has launched what it claims is Europe's first commercial robotaxi service on the streets of Zagreb, operating 10 automated vehicles for a select number of customers since April 8. Backed by Uber and powered by Chinese self-driving firm Pony.ai, the service is intended to be fully autonomous, though a human operator remains temporarily behind the wheel during the current phased rollout in case intervention is needed. The nearly month-long rollout represents a significant step forward in Europe's push toward self-driving public mobility, with Croatia emerging as an unlikely pioneer in the race to commercialize robotaxi technology. The service is expected to move towards full driverless operation as the phased rollout progresses and confidence in the technology grows.
In the defense sector, Turkey is showcasing its industrial power. The Saha Defense Expo has brought together thousands of companies highlighting advances in AI systems, drones, and next-generation military technology. The Saha 2026 International Defense and Aerospace Exhibition has officially opened at the Istanbul Expo Center in Turkey, bringing together over 1,700 companies, including 263 international firms and more than 30,000 industry professionals from over 120 countries. Organized by Saha Istanbul, the event is one of the largest defense and aerospace exhibitions in the region, spanning a total area of 400,000 square meters. The exhibition will run until May 9 and includes both indoor and outdoor displays, with 20,000 square meters dedicated to open-air exhibits. This year's event will feature the launch of 203 new products and host 164 signing ceremonies, with a goal of surpassing $8 billion in export agreements, up from $6.2 billion recorded in 2024. Among the highlights are advanced unmanned systems, artificial intelligence-supported loitering munitions, and directed energy weapon platforms. The exhibition also includes demonstrations from domestically developed unmanned naval vehicles at Atakoy Marina. And that brings us to the end of this week's Business World. From shifting global alliances and trade tensions to major investment and technological breakthroughs, the global economy continues to evolve at speed. I am Siksha Bhattrai. Thank you for watching Business World here on NTV World. We'll see you next week.
Pokhara is undoubtedly #1 destination for tourists in Nepal. The valley, blessed with natural beauty, attracts domestic and foreign tourists alike. You must have already visited Pokhara. If you haven't or planning another trip, then these are some of the must-go places in Pokhara. The first attraction in Pokhara is the Pheva Lake. Boating in Pheva Lake is a ritual for every tourist visiting this paradise. The Tal Barahi temple at the center of the lake adds to the beauty of the place. A round-trip boat ride in Pheva Lake to and from the temple is a feature of both the lake as well as the temple. Separate boat ride, watching the reflection of Mount Machapuchri on the lake and fishing spice up the Pheva experience. The lakeside along the banks of the Pheva Lake is a popular tourist hub. Many tourists in Pokhara choose Devi's Fall as their second destination in Pokhara. The water from Pheva Lake exits towards Seti River through the Gupteshwar cave from this Devi's Fall. The mighty water stream rushing deep down into the gorge, covered by water vapor, is a magical sight. Pokhara is known as the city of lakes and caves. Many of the lakes and caves have religious importance. This is Gupteshwar cave at Chorepatan area. Inside the cave, the idol of Lord Shiva is a well-known pilgrimage. Further inside the cave, one can see the Devi's Fall. Mahendra Cave is another famous place in Pokhara, and nearby is another well-known Chamere cave. Both the caves can be visited together. Two other well-known tourist destinations in Pokhara are Begnas and Rupa lakes. Fresh fish of Begnas Lake is a sought-after delicacy. Rupa Lake is just round the corner beyond a small hill towards the eastern edge of Begnas Lake. Away from the hustle and bustle of the town, Begnas and Rupa lakes cannot be taken out of a tourist's itinerary. This is the famous White Monastery on top of the hill above Pheva Lake. This is also a popular destination for domestic as well as foreign tourists. The top-angle bird's-eye view of Pokhara city from the monastery is a sight to behold. The placid Pheva Lake, the tall mountain range, and the birds like paragliding pilots on the background of Sarankot Hill are mesmerizing. The Bindabasini temple in Pokhara is a famous shrine in Nepal. The best route to visit the temple is on the way to Sarankot. Devotees throng the Bindabasini temple, which is atop a small hill with panoramic view of Pokhara city. The Bindabasini temple is famous among the Hindus across the country. Sarankot is a hill station on top of a hill on the northwestern side of Pokhara. a must-go place to see the majestic Mount Machapuchre and Mount Dhaulagiri in the Annapurna range in front of the eyes, and also the Pokhara and Leknath cities on the other side. Sarangkot is synonymous to paragliding in Nepal. Taking off from the Sarangkot hill, one can enjoy the panoramic mountain range in addition to the bird's eye view of Pokhara city. Ultralight and zip flyer offer a thrill to adventure seekers in Pokhara and are becoming major interests for tourists. Other places, including Swarak in Sangja, have the potential to be world's best place for paragliding. First time in Nepal, Paragliding Accuracy World Cup was held at this place, situated at Mahapur of Virkot municipality of the district. The place drew global attention after the event. Pokhara, famous tourism destination of the country. Majority of locals engaged in tourism industry. The city of lakes and caves, hub of aviation sports. Some major destinations: Lakeside, Feva Lake and Tal Barahi Temple, Begnas and Rupa Lakes, Mahendra Gufa.
Only after 6 decades of the institutional development of the now popular game of cricket did Nepal get the opportunity to play in the World Cup. Although cricket was introduced in Nepal during the Rana regime, the sport was confined to a limited number of people, namely the elite. It all started with equipment brought by students returning from their studies in Britain and India. Although Cricket Association of Nepal (CAN) was established in 1947, cricket remained centered among a few affluent individuals and in limited tournaments for a long time. Starting with the Bishnu Trophy in 1948, tournaments were limited to competitions like the Madan Memorial Sealed, Jugal Kishore Trophy, Rammani Trophy, and later the Jai Trophy. Even as the sport expanded outside Kathmandu Valley, it took decades for cricket to develop at the grassroots level. After the International Cricket Council (ICC) granted Nepal affiliate membership in 1988, Nepali cricket embarked on its international journey. The rule of mandatory participation in tournaments by the ICC and the Asian Cricket Council (ACC) opened doors to international competition for Nepal. After participating in the Under-19 Asian tournament in Hong Kong in 1996, Nepal has not looked back. Winning titles at the Asian and global levels, Nepali cricket team continues its journey towards the pinnacle of world cricket.
Goes down the ground because he was given that line outside off stump, so the first boundary of the contest, a handsome one.
Initially confined to Turikhel in Kathmandu, many international tournaments were hosted in Nepal after an international standard ground was built in Kirtipur. Nepal has also shown its proactiveness in differently abled cricket tournaments like the T20 World Cup for the blind in 2012 and the Asian Cricket Tournament for the deaf. Nepali women's national cricket team has also achieved remarkable success in a short period of time. The
Budget session of Nepal's federal parliament begins tomorrow. President to present government policy and program. RSP Chair Lamithani defends Chief Justice recommendation process, says it followed constitutional framework. Experts link Nepal's erratic weather to active western disturbances, warn of possible monsoon impact on agriculture. At least 15 officers killed in a deadly car bomb attack in Pakistan. Police post in the northwest targeted. Israel intensifies strikes in Lebanon as Middle East tensions escalate. 39 killed in airstrikes in Lebanon. And Iran sets conditions for 2026 World Cup hosts for participation, demands visa guarantees and security assurances. Good evening, I'm Bijata Pandari and you're watching NTV World News Hour, coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours Nepal time. Now the news in detail. The budget session of Nepal's federal parliament is set to begin tomorrow, marking the start of the new parliamentary year with the government's policy and program presentation. President Ramchandra Paudel is scheduled to address a joint sitting of both the House of Representatives and the National Assembly at 4 p.m. tomorrow, in line with Article 95 of the Constitution of Nepal. Earlier in the day, both houses will meet separately at 2 p.m. with agendas including announcements related to the session convening, information on recent cabinet reshuffle, and procedural matters such as presiding arrangements and rule approvals. The government will also table 8 ordinances, including amendments related to public procurement and the Constitutional Council. We will bring more on this in our cover story segment later in the bulletin. Now, Rashtriya Swatantra Party Chair Rabi Lamithani has defended the process of recommending a new Chief Justice, saying it was carried out strictly within Nepal's constitutional framework. Speaking at a party training program for lawmakers, a chairperson of the largest party in Nepal, Lamithani, said both the Constitutional Council's role and the recommendation process were legally valid under the country's constitution. Lamithani responded to criticism over alleged deviation from long-standing convention by questioning why 6 candidates were recommended if the process itself was unconstitutional, adding that the Constitution does not mandate the automatic appointment of the senior-most justice.
नियुक्तिका विषयमा चर्चाहरू चलिरहेको कुरालाई लिएर 6 जनाको साटो संविधानमा वरिष्ठतम जो हुनुहुन्छ उहाँलाई नै चुन्नु पर्ने छ भनेको भए संवैधानिक परिषदको बैठकको पनि आवश्यकता पर्दैन थियो, सोझै वरिष्ठतमको नियुक्ति हुने व्यवस्था हुन्थ्यो होला, तर संविधानले त्यसो भन्दैन.
Nepal is experiencing an unusually cool and wet pre-monsoon season, with frequent rain, thunderstorms and hail replacing the intense summer heat that typically dominates this time of the year. According to Met Division, temperatures in Kathmandu have remained nearly 8 to 10 degrees Celsius below seasonal averages, while the southern Tarai plains have also recorded milder conditions than normal. Climate experts warn that the erratic weather could affect Nepal's upcoming monsoon season and pose challenges for agriculture, which remains heavily dependent on predictable rainfall cycles. We will look more into this in our Issue of the Day segment later in the bulletin. Now moving on, a car bombing at a police post in northwestern Pakistan, followed by an ambush on police personnel rushing to the scene, has killed at least 15 police officers. The attack targeted a checkpoint in the northwestern Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border, where insurgent violence has intensified in the recent months. Police official Sajjad Khan said in a statement that the bodies of 14 officers had been recovered from the collapsed outpost and 3 other personnel were found alive and rushed to the hospital. Security officials said the blast was followed by heavy gunfire as assailants attempted to storm the post. A militant alliance known as the Ittehad-ul-Mujahideen claimed responsibility for the attack. At least 39 people have been killed in another day of intense Israeli strikes in Lebanon, the country's health ministry said. One Israeli strike on the southern town of Saksakieh killed at least 7 people, including a child, according to the ministry. The Israel Defense Forces, or IDF, said it had been targeting Lebanese armed group Hezbollah and was aware of reports regarding harm to uninvolved civilians. Israeli forces and Hezbollah have continued to trade fire since U.S. President Donald Trump announced a ceasefire deal between the governments of Israel and Lebanon on the 16th of April. In more from the Middle East crisis, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards threatened on Saturday to target U.S. sites in the Middle East if its tankers come under fire, Iranian media reported, as Washington was left waiting for Tehran's response to its latest negotiating position. The remarks came a day after U.S. strikes on 2 Iranian tankers in the Gulf of Oman. That incident followed another flare-up the night before in the Strait of Hormuz, the vital international sea lane that Iran is seeking to control in order to extract tolls and wield economic leverage over the United States and its allies. The U.S. says it is unacceptable for Tehran to control the key oil route. U.S. President Donald Trump had said on Friday he was expecting Iran's answer to Washington's latest proposal for a peace deal. But if Tehran sent Pakistani mediators a response, there was no public sign of it, and Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi reportedly questioned the reliability of U.S. leadership. Iran's Football Federation has confirmed that the national men's team will participate in the 2026 FIFA World Cup, while urging host nations, the United States, Mexico and Canada, to meet a set of conditions amid the heightened geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. Federation President Mehdi Taj said the demands are aimed at ensuring proper treatment of Iranian players and staff during the tournament. Iran has reportedly outlined 10 conditions, including smooth visa processing, respect for its flag and national anthem, and strong security arrangements for its delegation. Iran has been drawn in Group G and will begin its campaign against New Zealand in Los Angeles on June 15, followed by matches against Belgium and Egypt. Nepal's pre-monsoon season is taking an unusual turn, with persistent rain, thunderstorms and hail replacing the scorching summer heat normally seen this time of the year. Temperatures in Kathmandu and the southern Tarai have remained well below seasonal averages, raising concerns among climate experts about the possible impacts of the oncoming monsoon on the country's agricultural sector. We will explore this more in our Issue of the Day segment after the short break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. And now it's time for our Issue of the Day segment. Nepal is seeing an unusual pre-monsoon season with cooler temperatures and frequent rain instead of the typical summer heat. Experts link this to active western disturbances and shifting weather patterns. The change is set to reflect growing climate variability and could affect the upcoming monsoon season and agriculture. Sabika Shrestha brings more.
What should normally be one of Nepal's hottest and driest stretches of the year has instead felt strangely cold and unsettled. In months of April and May, when heat waves and dusty winds usually dominate many parts of the country, are seeing thick cloud cover, frequent rain, thunderstorms, and even hail, giving days an almost winter-like feel. According to the Department of Hydrology and Meteorology, Kathmandu's temperatures have been hovering around 22 to 24 degrees Celsius, nearly 8 to 10 degrees Celsius below normal. In the Tarai belt, when temperatures often approach 40 degrees Celsius at this time of year, the mercury has stayed unusually restrained in the low 30s. Meteorologists say the pattern is being driven by active western disturbances and a highly dynamic upper air circulation system, which is reshaping how pre-monsoon weather behaves, bringing repeated spells of rain and blocking the usual build-up of heat. Weather expert Nagmendra Dahal says the current pre-monsoon season is behaving in an unusually active and unstable way.
This year, Nepal's pre-monsoon season has been very active with heavy rainfall in the last 3 and 4 weeks, and this is unusual kind of pre-monsoon. The temperature is very low compared to the normal pre-monsoon time. No usual kind of weather system such as thunderstorm, hailstorm, lightning, gusty winds, short duration of rainfall. This is a very kind of dynamic situation, and the main influencing factor of this activity is due to the active westerly disturbances. The mountain region may get some rainfall in the east and in the mid-west and central Nepal, but in the central, in the western Tarai, mid-Tarai and western Tarai will be affected the most.
Beyond the immediate weather oddity, climate experts see a deeper signal. Nepal is increasingly experiencing erratic seasonal behavior, extreme heat in some years, unseasonal cold spells in others, and shifting rainfall patterns that no longer follow predictable cycles. This growing instability is being linked to broader climate change impacts in the Himalayan region, where rising global temperatures are altering jet streams, weakening traditional monsoon patterns, and increasing the frequency of western disturbances. For farmers, the concern is not just the unusual chill, but what it might mean ahead. Unpredictable pre-monsoon behavior often raises uncertainty about the main monsoon itself, the lifetime of Nepal's agriculture. With forecasts hinting at below normal rainfall ahead, the fear is of longer dry spells, stressed crops, and growing pressure on already vulnerable farming communities. Sabika Shrestha reporting for NTV World.
In this context, we asked weather experts how climate change is affecting weather patterns. Let's take a look at what they had to say in today's Public Pulse.
अहिलेसम्मको चाहिँ विभिन्न अध्ययनले गर्दाखेरि जलवायु परिवर्तनका कारणले 1.5 देखि 2 प्रतिशतको हाराहारीमा चाहिँ यो जीडीपी लस भइराखेको छ भन्ने चाहिँ देखिएको छ। भनेपछि वर्षेनी चाहिँ हाम्रो यो खेती प्रणाली मात्रै नभएर चाहिँ अब हाम्रो इकोसिस्टममा वन वनस्पति र पर्यावरणमा पनि चाहिँ जलवायु परिवर्तनको असर चाहिँ देखिएको छ। र एउटा भन्नुपर्ने यसपालिको र आजको जुन यो मनसुन फोरममा पनि आउने विषय भनेको चाहिँ सुपर एल्निनो भन्ने एक खालको नयाँ सिस्टम आउँदैछ समुद्रमा। त्यो सुपर एल्निनो भनेको समुद्रको सतहको तापक्रममा आएको व्यापक परिवर्तन हो। त्यो व्यापक परिवर्तन चाहिँ अब खास गरी प्रशान्त महासागरदेखि हिन्द महासागरसम्मको समुद्रको तापक्रमको अवस्था र प्रशान्त महासागरदेखि चाहिँ ल्याटिन अमेरिकासम्मको समुद्रको तापक्रममा आएको परिवर्तनको अवस्थाले चाहिँ हाम्रो दक्षिण एसियाको होल मनसुनलाई असर गर्दछ। त्यो भनेको चाहिँ जति बेला रोपाइँ गर्ने बेला हो यसपालि अषाढदेखि चाहिँ असोजसम्मको अवस्थामा पानी औसतभन्दा कम पर्ने सम्भावना धेरै छ। औसतभन्दा पानी कम पर्ने र गर्मी चाहिँ औसतभन्दा बढी हुने भएको हुनाले चाहिँ यसले हिमाली क्षेत्रमा हिमाली इकोसिस्टमलाई चाहिँ हाम्रो हिमताल विस्फोटको घटना गराउनेतिर पनि यसले चाहिँ ठुलो जोखिम ल्याउन सक्छ।
अब यो चाहिँ के मनसुनमा त तलमाथि भइ नै राखेको हुन्छ, उतार चढाव।
तर त्यही पनि अब विगतका वर्षहरूको तुलनामा यसपालि चाहिँ कम वर्षा हुन्छ त्यसको लागि चाहिँ अब खरेरी हुनसक्छ, पानीको कमी हुनसक्छ। त्यसकारण त्यसको लागि चाहिँ अब विभिन्न सरकारका विभिन्न निकायहरूलाई चाहिँ परिचालित गरेर होइन त्यसबाट चाहिँ अब जनसाधारणलाई चाहिँ कसरी अब त्यसको चाहिँ विकट किसिमको असर नपारोस् भन्ने किसिमले चाहिँ गर्नु पर्यो।
विशेष गरेर यो प्रशान्त महासागरमा जुन अब एल्निनो इयर भनेर भनिएको छ यो वर्ष चाहिँ होइन, त्यसले गर्दाखेरि यो विशेष गरेर यो हाम्रो साउनसम्ममा चाहिँ एल्निनो रहन्छ र यतातिर चाहिँ हाम्रो हिन्द महासागरमा आइओडी इन्डियन ओसन डाइपोल भने यो दुईवटा फ्याक्टर देखाइएको छ। त्यसको असरले गर्दाखेरि एउटा जुन समग्र हाम्रो यो मनसुन चक्र छ नि त्यसमा केही असर गर्छ कि भन्ने कुराहरू छ। नर्मली अनुसन्धानले पनि चाहिँ अलिकति एल्निनो इयरमा चाहिँ एल्निनो भएको वर्षमा अलिकति हाम्रो मनसुन चाहिँ अलिकति कमजोर पार्ने, त्यो चाहिँ जलवायु हावाहरू अलिक कम दिने भन्ने कुराहरू छ। यद्यपि एउटा फोरकास्ट हो, तर अब त्यसलाई फेरि रियल अब्जर्भमेन्ट हेर्दाखेरि हामी हेर्दै जानुपर्ने हुन्छ र हामी जब मनसुन सुरु हुन्छ त्यसपछि चाहिँ यहिलेबाट मनसुन स्टार्ट भयो भनेर फेरि किसानहरूलाई हामी जानकारी गराउँछौँ।
अब समयमा पानी नपर्ने, कहिले बढी पर्ने, कहिले कम पर्ने, ती समस्याहरू अब सर्वत्र चाहिँ व्यापक छ। हाम्रोमा पनि त्यही छ। त्यस कारणले गर्दाखेरि अब त्यो सिफ्ट अनुसार अब रोग व्याधि पनि जुन बढिरहेको छ त्यसलाई पनि अलिकति त्यसलाई पनि अब के अरे गर्ने त्यसलाई चाहिँ भनौँ टोलरेट गर्ने हिसाबले त्यही प्रकारका अन्न बालीहरू अथवा बालीका चाहिँ विविधीकरणका कुराहरू अथवा जुन बालीमा हामीले पहिला चाहिँ लाउँछौँ जुन टेम्परेचरमा अथवा जुन तापक्रममा हामी त्यो लाउँछौँ त्यसमा पनि अलिकति चेन्ज ल्याउने कुराहरू, ती कुराहरूदेखि लिएर अब मलका चाहिँ व्यवस्थापनका कुराहरू, त्यसै गरी माटोको चाहिँ क्वालिटी टेस्टका कुराहरू, ती कुराहरूमा ध्यान दिनुपर्ने हुन्छ।
Now, to gain deeper insight into the issue, we are joined this evening by climate and environment expert Mr. Ujjal Upadhyay. Mr. Upadhyay, if you can hear me, let's jump right into the questions. Now, are these extreme swings, the heat, the cold, the hail, are they becoming the new normal?
Well, it's mainly, well, we can say that these activities are the consequences of changing climate, because this has actually altered the traditional weather patterns, causing new kinds of atmospheric condition. And the climate is not changing in this part of the world, but also across the world. Such kind of changes are being seen. But whatever we have seen in context of Nepal right now cannot be directly termed as a climate change. However, this looks quite unusual, right? And so what is happening right now in Nepal or this part of the world, particularly in eastern part of Indian subcontinent, is mainly because of the active and frequent western disturbances that have brought unseasonal rain. And such kind of western disturbances are actually active in the month of December and January. But this time it is taking place even in the mid of May, right? So that are bringing unseasonal rainfall, hence hailstorm and thunderstorm activity during March and April, and also the May. And apart from that, there are the local climatic and atmospheric system that are being developed, right? So which is mainly because of the afternoon heating followed by the rain cloud formation. So these are some of the systems that are also playing the vital role. But the way this has enhanced and the way this has become intensive is definitely because of the changing climate that is altering the entire global atmospheric system across the world.
Now, Mr. Upadhyay, are these Western disturbances becoming more active than before, or does it just feel like that? And if so, what does that mean for us?
We can say that these have become more intense than in the past, right? Because we have never seen Western disturbances becoming so active for so long time, right? So you can see these Western disturbances have been active since mid of March, and it's almost mid of May, right? So it's been like more than 60 days that these are occurring. So definitely this is quite unusual, but definitely we cannot exactly claim that these are the consequences of climate change unless we do the descriptive and the detailed research on this, right? So if you ask me personally, then definitely I'm going to tell that this is something unusual and this could be the consequence of climate change, but I cannot tell you with I cannot tell you without the proper proof, and to get that, we need to have a detailed research on this, and I'm sure that many international organizations as well as national organizations are doing the research, and so gradually we are going to get the findings. What are the main cause of this?
Now, Mr. Upadhyay, so because of these extreme swings in the different kind of temperature and hailstorms and thunderstorms, everything, how do you see this affecting our farmers and our agricultural sector in particular?
Definitely. So you see, I mean, entire winter became absolutely dry. There was no single drop of rainfall that happened. I mean, no single rainfall. No single drop of rainfall that happened in December, January, and February. And from March onwards, it's been raining. So what happened is, particularly the winter crops actually got damaged because of the prolonged drought and the long winter drought. And when there was a time of harvesting of lentils and wheat, so it rained that time, right? So all this kind of unseasonal rainfall, this is absolutely affecting the farmers. And even this morning and afternoon, I was interacting with farmers. They are the people who are being affected most by the climate change. And this is the time, it should not rain much, because this is the time of harvesting the wheat. If you go to the farmer's land right now, they are wondering how to harvest the wheat, right? Because the wheat are ripening on the ground. If they cut it, the rain is going to destroy them. And all such kind of unseasonal rainfall, particularly in this time of the season, is really affecting them.
Well, thank you so much for your time and insights, Mr. Upadhyay.
Okay, thank you so much.
Well, that was our climate and environment expert, Mr. Ujjwal Upadhyay, helping us better understand the current weather and the ongoing extreme swings in the weather. And that wraps up our issue of the day segment. Now on to the next segment. Nepal is preparing to unveil a nearly 1.9 trillion rupee budget for the upcoming fiscal year, amid the growing pressure to revive a slowing economy, strengthen private sector confidence, and create jobs for thousands of young people leaving for foreign employment. Amidst this uphill battle, the government has also introduced a new digital platform to collect public suggestions on budget priorities and policy making. We explored this initiative and the possible impacts of the upcoming budget in our cover story segment after this break. Welcome back. You're watching NTV World News Hour. And now it's time for our cover story segment. As Nepal is preparing to unveil a budget worth nearly 1.9 trillion rupees for the upcoming fiscal year, the newly elected government faces mounting pressure to revive a slowing economy, boost private sector confidence, and create jobs for thousands of young people leaving the country for foreign employment each year. Economists say the upcoming budget will be critical in determining whether Nepal can accelerate development and restore economic momentum after years of weak capital spending and sluggish market activity. Here's a report.
Nepal government is currently finalizing the national budget for fiscal year 2026-27 at a time when Nepal's economy continues to struggle with slow growth, weak consumer demand, and low investment confidence. Experts say one of the country's biggest economic challenges remains poor capital expenditure. Development spending by the government has remained consistently low in recent years, delaying infrastructure projects and slowing economic activity across multiple sectors. At the same time, declining purchasing power among consumers has weakened market activity, while many businesses continue to hold back investment despite sufficient liquidity in the banking sector. Economists warn that the lack of economic opportunities at home has also contributed to the continued outflow of young Nepalis seeking employment abroad, raising concerns about long-term productivity and the country's ability to mobilize domestic resources effectively.
The new government, led by the Rashtriya Swatantra Party RSP, which secured a near two-thirds majority in the March parliamentary elections, is now under pressure to deliver a budget that directly addresses public expectations, particularly among young voters seeking employment and economic stability. Former Vice Chairperson of the National Planning Commission, Govinda Pokhrel, says the budget should focus more on development and production rather than short-term distribution programs.
वैदेशिक मुद्रा आर्जन गर्ने र रोजगारी सिर्जना गर्ने एउटा आईटी हो, पर्यटन हो र एउटा निर्यात हो। त्यो क्षेत्रमा उहाँहरूले कसरी एउटा टार्गेटेड त्यसरी जानु पर्यो। कृषि क्षेत्रमा उहाँहरूले दिने सुविधाको लागि फोकस गर्नु पर्यो, तर मान्छेको क्षमता बढाउनु पर्यो। मान्छेसँग खेत छ, बारी छ, उत्पादन हुने ठाउँ छ, तर उसँग त्यसलाई सदुपयोग गरेर आफूलाई अब एउटा मर्यादित आम्दानी हुने खालको क्षमता छैन कि टमाटर उत्पादन गर्छ, त्यो टमाटर कुहिएर जान्छ, उसले चाहिँ बजारीकरण गर्न सक्दैन कि। त्यसकारणले जुन सप्लाई साइड भन्छौँ, किसानले अथवा अरू कुनै पनि उद्यमीले पाउनुपर्ने सुविधा चाहिँ सरकारले उपलब्ध गराइदिनु पर्यो र उहाँहरूको क्षमता विकास गर्नु पर्यो। बजारीकरण कसरी गर्ने, त्यसलाई आफ्नो व्यक्तिगत आय कसरी बढाउने, ऋण कसरी लिने, लगानीको सुरक्षित कसरी गर्ने, यो सबै चिज जबसम्म सिकाइदैनौँ, सरकारले अनुदान मात्रै पेलेर पनि कुनै उपलब्धि नभएको हामीले चाहिँ देखेका छौँ।
Pokhrel says priority should be given to sectors that can strengthen Nepal's domestic economy, including energy exports, information technology, and infrastructure development. He also says the government should focus on completing unfinished large-scale projects and restoring confidence in the private sector to encourage greater investment. Experts say, although banks currently hold investable funds, businesses remain hesitant to expand due to uncertainty in the economy and weak market demand. Economists are also urging the government to introduce employment-focused policies and provide special support for small and medium-sized enterprises, which are considered key drivers of job creation and economic recovery.
युवा लक्षित कार्यक्रमहरूलाई चाहिँ बढी फोकस गर्नुपर्छ। क्वालिटेटिभ एजुकेसन जहाँ चाहिँ स्किल अनि त्यसपछि चाहिँ उनीहरूलाई ट्रेनिङ र कामले चाहिँ उत्पादन रोजगारीमा पनि साथ दिन सकोस्। अहिले नेपाली अर्थतन्त्र अत्यन्तै शिथिल अवस्थामा छ, जहाँ चाहिँ हामी गरिबी, महँगी र बेरोजगारको चाहिँ चरम मार खेपिरहेका छौँ। यो कुरालाई चाहिँ सरकारले तत्कालै एड्रेस गर्नुपर्छ।
Analysts say citizens are now expecting tangible relief and visible development outcomes rather than policy promises alone. They argue that the upcoming budget will be closely watched as a test of the government's ability to translate its strong electoral mandate into economic results. The government is expected to make public the budget, with total spending projected to exceed 1,890 billion Nepali rupees.
As economists and citizens alike demand stronger economic policies, Nepal's government is also attempting to make the budget process more participatory through a newly launched digital platform. Nepal's Office of the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers has come up with a new digital suggestion collection portal aimed at increasing public participation in the country's policy, program and budget-making process for the upcoming fiscal year. The platform allows Nepali citizens, policy experts and members of the diaspora living abroad to directly submit recommendations on development priorities and government spending plans. Officials say the initiative is part of an effort to make governance more transparent, inclusive and people-centered by incorporating public concerns into national policy making. The Prime Minister's Secretariat says the portal is intended to reduce the gap between citizens and the state and ensure that government decisions are not limited to bureaucratic circles alone. The system also includes a suggestion tracking feature, allowing users to monitor the status of their submissions and see whether the recommendations are being reviewed or implemented by the government. And that concludes our cover story segment. Now the remaining updates. The Office of the Controller of Examinations has sped up preparations to publish the results of the Secondary Education Examination, or SEE, of April this year, following the completion of answer sheet verification and testing. The examinations were conducted from April 2 to 12, and the National Examination Board, NEB, has set a target to publish the results by May 12. According to Examination Controller Tukraj Adhikari, 35 staff members are currently engaged in tabulation work to ensure timely processing of the results. The SEE guideline requires answer sheets to be checked within 3 days after the exam ends, emphasizing efficiency in result preparation. Last year, over 512,000 students participated in the SEE, and they are now awaiting their results, which are a key milestone in Nepal's school education system. At least 17 people, including the driver, were injured when a passenger bus traveling from Kathmandu to Biratnagar overturned along the east-west highway in Dhanusha district in southeastern Nepal on Sunday morning. According to the police, the mishap occurred near a football ground in Mithila Municipality 9 in Dhanusha after the bus with the registration number BA-PRAKHA 5237 lost control while attempting to overtake another vehicle. Authorities said 33 passengers were on board the bus at the time of the incident. The injured have been taken to Model Hospital in Lalgarh for treatment. Police from the nearby Dalkebar police office are currently investigating into the incident. Now moving on, Pushpa Kamal Dahal, one of Nepal's leading communist politicians and former head of the Maoist insurgency that later entered mainstream politics, has claimed that efforts are being made to weaken the communist movement in the country. Speaking at the 26th Nirmal Lama Memorial event in Kathmandu, Dahal said behind-the-scenes political games aimed at sidelining communist forces during Nepal's last parliamentary elections would gradually come to light. He warned that Nepal is currently passing through a politically sensitive period and stressed that unity among communist and nationalist groups has become increasingly important. Dahal also said it would be unfortunate if communist parties failed to unite under a broader political campaign at a time when the country is facing growing national and political challenges. Consumers in Nepal are facing rising inflation and growing confusion in local markets, where many everyday goods are being sold without clear price labels or standardized rates. Shoppers say prices for daily consumables now vary widely from one store to another. Meanwhile, retailers say prices have risen by around 5 to 7% over the past month, driven by higher supply costs and disruptions linked to the government's mandatory maximum retail price or MRP policy on imported goods.
दाल, चामल, तेल हेर त्यस्तै महँगो छ, खानेकुराहरु अब हामी गरिब गुरुवाले त बाँच्नै मुस्किल आय आर्जन नहुनेले त बाँच्नै मुस्किल पर्ने भइसक्यो के रे यस्तो महँगो भयो भने अनि डिजल पेट्रोल महँगो भयो भएर भाडा बढ्या भएर भन्छन् यही नेपालमा बनेको गोल भेडा त यही यतातिर नि बन्छ पाइन्छ नि त्यो पनि बेसी त महँगो किन भन्दा भाडा महँगीहरु.
Economists warn that rising inflation combined with stagnant incomes is placing growing pressure on low-income families, daily wage workers and students already struggling with the rising cost of living. Badi Kedar Temple in Doti district is emerging as a major religious and tourism destination in Nepal's far western region, drawing pilgrims from across Nepal and India. Despite its growing popularity and tourism potential, authorities say the area still needs significant infrastructure development to support rising visitor numbers. Aprila Khising Lama with local correspondent Ekendra Chand reports.
Located in Doti district in Nepal's far western region, Badi Kedar temple is increasingly gaining recognition as an important religious and tourism destination. The temple, regarded as a major center of Hindu faith, attracts pilgrims and visitors from various parts of Nepal as well as neighboring India. Local authorities say tourism activities and religious fairs are now being organized beyond the traditional annual festival season to promote the area more widely. Known for its panoramic views of the Api and Saipal Himalayan ranges, dense forests and natural surroundings, the destination has growing tourism potential.
ठुला केदार नामले पनि प्रसिद्ध छन् र अहिले बडी केदार भनेर पनि प्रसिद्ध छन्। अब यो खास गरेर छोटो रूपमा मेला लाग्ने मुख्य ठुलो विशेष पर्वको रूपमा कार्तिक शुक्ल त्रयोदशी मेला भएर चतुर्दशी हवन पूजा हुने र अनि शिवरात्रि महाशिवरात्रिको बेलामा पनि यहाँ मेलाको आयोजना हुन्छ र अधिकतम मान्छेहरू आएर दर्शन गरेर जान्छन्। अनि वैशाख शुक्ल चतुर्दशी पनि विशेष पर्वकै रूपमा नै यो केदारमा मेला लाग्ने भइरहेको छ। पहिलेदेखि थियो, बीचमा केही समय टुट्यो, फेरि सुरुवात गर्दैछन्।
Traditionally, the largest religious fair at Badi Kedar was held once a year during Kartik Shukla Trayodashi, an annual Hindu religious festival period in October-November. However, temple authorities have now started organizing additional fairs during this season to increase visitor engagement and tourism promotion. Despite its religious significance, local officials say the area still lacks adequate infrastructure, including roads, pedestrian trails, drinking water facilities, public toilets, accommodation, and information centers.
पर्यटकीय क्षेत्रलाई थप व्यवस्थित र पर्यटक आउन लायकको हामीले बनाउने रणनीति तय गरेका छौं। यस क्षेत्रको विकासका लागि हामीले प्रदेश सरकारसँग आग्रह गरेका छौं र संघीय सरकारलाई पनि हामीले हाम्रो निवेदन पर्यटन मन्त्रालयमा पेश गरेका छौं।
Officials believe that with better infrastructure and effective promotion, Badi Kedar could emerge as one of the major tourism destinations in Nepal's far western region.
International news coming up next, but before that, a quick look at our headlines once again. Budget session of Nepal's federal parliament begins tomorrow. President to present government policy and program. RSP Chair Lamichhane defends Chief Justice recommendation process, says it followed constitutional framework. Experts link Nepal's erratic weather to active western disturbances, warn of possible monsoon impact on agriculture. At least 15 officers killed in a deadly car bomb attack in Pakistan. Police post in the northwest targeted. Israel intensifies strikes in Lebanon as Middle East tensions escalate. 39 killed in airstrikes in Lebanon. And Iran sets conditions for 2026 World Cup host for participation. Demands visa guarantees and security assurances. Russian President Vladimir Putin has said he thinks Russia's conflict with Ukraine is coming to an end, addressing reporters after a scaled-back military parade in Moscow, marking the Soviet victory in World War II. Putin also blasted Western countries for helping Ukraine.
Замечательно пообещали помощь и начали раскручивать противостояние с Россией, которая продолжается до сих пор. Я думаю, что дело идет к завершению, но все-таки это серьезная вещь.
Spain has started evacuating passengers from a hantavirus-stricken cruise ship anchored near Tenerife in the Canary Islands. Health Minister Monica Garcia said the operation was proceeding normally and that all passengers on board the MS Hondius were still asymptomatic. Passengers could be seen wandering around on the deck of the ship or at the windows, all in white medical face masks, as the first evacuation took place. Several sat socially distanced on the small evacuation boat, filming and taking photos as they approached land, where they were met by officials in white protective suits. The ship's passengers are being divided into groups by nationality to be ferried to shore. They will be taken by bus to the local airport, where charter planes will repatriate them to their home countries. Actor turned politician Chandrasekaran Joseph Vijay took oath as the new Chief Minister of the Indian state of Tamil Nadu at the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium today, marking the rise of a new political force in the state. With his oath-taking, Tamilaga Vetri Kazagam, President Vijay becomes the first leader outside the DMK and AIA-DMK camps to assume power in Tamil Nadu since 1967, ending nearly 6 decades of two-party dominance. In his speech, Vijay pledged to prioritize transparent governance, youth welfare and employment generation, while calling for unity and inclusive development across Tamil Nadu. The swearing-in event drew a large gathering of political leaders and public figures, including Congress leader Rahul Gandhi. Business news coming up next after the short break.
Saudi oil giant Aramco said its net profit rose by more than 25% in the first quarter of the year compared to the same period in 2025, driven by greater crude oil sales and higher prices. The result comes after the Middle East war sent oil and gas prices soaring and uncertainty plagues global markets over the conflict's trajectory. The group, majority owned by the state, said that its increase in revenue was mainly due to higher prices and volumes sold on refined and chemical products, as well as higher crude oil volumes sold and higher crude oil prices. The strong quarterly performance reinforces Saudi's Aramco's position as one of the world's most profitable energy companies amid persistent supply concerns and fluctuating global crude markets. Pakistan is expected to access Chinese capital markets for the first time through a yuan-dominated bond next week, according to Finance Minister Muhammad Aurangzeb. The $250 million issue, the first of a planned $1 billion program, will be backed by the Asian Development Bank and the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Aurangzeb said Pakistan's economy was showing signs of recovery, including rising exports and remittances, despite the war in Iran and closure of Strait of Hormuz, placing massive strain on the country, which relies heavily on imported fuel and gas. The finance minister's comments follow the release of about $1.32 billion in fresh funding by the International Monetary Fund from 2 loan disbursements under 2 ongoing programs. Aurangzeb said last month the government was weighing Eurobonds from other countries and commercial debt to replace a $3.5 billion facility from the United Arab Emirates and manage its foreign reserves. The US economy created 115,000 jobs in April as businesses kept hiring despite the economic fallout from the US-Israel war in Iran. The increase was stronger than expected, with the total almost twice as much as economists forecast. The data published by the US Bureau of Labor Statistics (BLS) also showed the unemployment rate was unchanged at 4.3%. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz in response to US and Israeli strikes on Iran has sparked a global energy shock, pushing up the price of gasoline for American consumers. The latest figures come after months of big fluctuations in job numbers. Non-farm payrolls fell by 156,000 in February before rising by 185,000 in March.
Time now for Sports Update. The Central Asian Volleyball Association, or CAVA, Women's Volleyball Championship League is set to take place in Kathmandu this June under the organization of the Nepal Volleyball Association. The championship will run from June 3rd to June 8th, featuring national teams from 8 countries, including Nepal, Iran, Kyrgyzstan, India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Maldives and Kazakhstan. According to Nepal Volleyball Association President Jitendra Bahadur Chand, the competition will also impact the International Volleyball Federation World Rankings, giving Nepal an opportunity to improve its standing through strong home performance. Chand added that preparations have been completed for the event, which has an estimated budget of 25 million rupees, with 10 million rupees contributed by the Nepal government and 3 million rupees by Kathmandu Metropolitan City. And now the weather updates, first from across Nepal and then the world. And before we wrap up, here's a reminder of our top stories once again. Budget session of Nepal's federal parliament begins tomorrow. President to present government policy and program. RSP Chair Lamichhane defends Chief Justice recommendation process, says it followed constitutional framework. Experts link Nepal's erratic weather to active western disturbances, warn of possible monsoon impact on agriculture. At least 15 officers killed in a deadly car bomb attack in Pakistan. Police post in northwest targeted. Israel intensifies strikes in Lebanon as Middle East tensions escalate. 39 killed in airstrikes in Lebanon. And Iran sets conditions for 2026 World Cup host for participation, demands visa guarantees and security assurances. This is it for this edition of NTV World News Hour. Do join us through our social media and get the latest updates from our official website at nepaltelevision.com. Thank you for staying with us. Good night.